now 7:01 p.m. Go ahead and start this meeting. It's going to be a long one tonight. The Board of Aldermen of the City of Brookshire will conduct a regular meeting on Thursday, November the 3rd, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. in the council chambers of the Brookshire Municipal Building located at 4029 Fifth Street. Before we start, we would like to do a prayer. Is anybody in the audience like to give us a prayer?
Mr. McNally, didn't you hear the mayor speaking to you?
All I'm told is what that is.
Thank you, volunteer to pray.
Absolutely.
Yes, you did.
Our most gracious Father in heaven, we are thankful for this time to join together for our city and for moving forward the causes that will help each of us to take care of our city and each other. We pray, Father, that thy Spirit would guide and direct our efforts, that we might be able to follow thy will, that we can seek to serve each other as we serve thee. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. McNally.
There's no problem. Sorry, I was looking for the agenda on my phone.
Mr. Rodney, are you calling us to order tonight, or no? Here.
Here.
Alderwoman Taylor,
Here.
Alderman Hill,
Present.
Alderwoman Newell,
Present.
Alderman Stamp. Alderman Stamp. You have a quorum, Mayor. Thank you, sir. Chief Miller, is there a list question? Sir? Okay. First on the public comment roster is Ms. Jackie Carter. And before you start, we have a lot of items tonight. I'd like for, if you could, just keep it within 2 to 3 minutes, 'cause we got a long way to go tonight. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
You want her to
You
come up here?
gonna come to the microphone,
Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, Alderman, my name's Jackie Craver. I'm the coordinator of the Waller County Sesquicentennial, the 150th celebration of Waller County, which officially takes place on Friday, May the 5th, 2023. We're very excited to be in the planning stages of this event and to have the city of Brookshire, as well as all of the other surrounding and Waller County communities involved. I wanted just to share real quickly, Mayor, real quickly, some of what's going on with the sesquicentennial so that y'all are definitely aware. And we do have committee meetings that is open to every single resident of Waller County. The next one will be held on Thursday, November the 17th at 1 p.m. at the Waller County Courthouse in the second floor courtroom. So while May the 5th is the official day of the celebration, we're hoping to kick it off here in Brookshire with a special kickoff celebration on Saturday, April 22nd. I believe that's on the agenda, and you'll hear more about that during the meeting. Then we will go to Friday, April 28th. We will be having a sesquicentennial Queen's coronation and invite all of the senior girls. It'll be a scholarship pageant or scholarship award given by the county and the Sesquicentennial Committee. There will also be a tea hosted by the Hempstead Garden Club at noon on Friday, April 28th. And on Saturday, April 29th, will be the Waller County Sesquicentennial Parade, again, for everyone to participate in. That will happen at 10 a.m. In Hempstead. And we want to be sure that everybody is involved in that. I know several people have said, well, why Hempstead? Well, only because it's the Waller County seat. And following that, that is the official day of the Waller County 4-H barbecue. It will be a part of the sesquicentennial activities at the Waller County Fairgrounds. So there'll be a lot of activities that day, the 4-H barbecue, antique car and tractor show, Old West shootout, and we're also involving the schools in both art contest, photo contest, essay contest, and then also a mural contest that will be held for that. And I'm happy to say that the Waller County, well, I guess soon to maybe be Brookshire Museum across the street is depicted in the mural and the logo for the sesquicentennial. On Sunday, April 30th, there will be a social in the park. They're working with that committee. There's different committees for each one of these, working with the Ministerial Alliance, with different churches involved. We'd love to have as many churches from around the county involved that day. And then Monday through Thursday, the May 1st through the May 4th, there'll be other city and community celebrations throughout Waller County, leading up to Friday, May the 5th, the official sesquicentennial day at the Waller County Courthouse. There'll be an opening ceremony at 1 o'clock, and there is a capsule that was buried during the Waller County Centennial, and that was in 1973, and that will be brought up, and everybody who put things in that vault will be able to have their families' artifacts. And then there will also be a new vault that will be buried, and so we invite all the citizens of Waller County, all the cities and communities to put something in the new vault that will be opened for the 200th celebration of Waller County. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. McNally, you was taking notes, correct? Today is
Yes,
your...
he's involved. He's been
Oh,
attending
believe
the
me, I
meetings.
volunteered him for that, too.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, because he's doing a great job. I appreciate that.
At some point, will the size of the vault be communicated, the new vault? So
Yes,
that-
it's 3.5 feet by 7 feet.
Okay.
It's the same as the vault that was buried.
Okay, just making sure we don't show up with,
Yes, actually, there will be kind of instructions on
Okay.
what to do. You'll either be able, it's being donated by McWilliams Funeral Home, who donated the last one. And you'll be able to purchase either a small vault that will go inside the larger vault, or there's a certain kind of a plastic tub that you'll be able to put your things in. And at every event, we plan to have a booth. So like at the Brookshire event, we'll have a booth for the sesquicentennial, and we'll be accepting items. People can bring items for that, so that they can, and we're going to keep a record this time. We don't have any records from last time. So we don't really know who has things in it, in the current vault, but we've been just spreading the word, so just let people know that, so that they will come on May the 5th will be the day for that. Great, thank you.
thank you.
Ray something.
Ray, I can't reach his hand right. Is there a Ray in here? Reference to 3719 US 90.
Move right along.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Randy. Okay. 3719. Oh, that's you.
That's you.
Unless it's some, the other ones.
It's on the
No.
agenda
I
later.
think
if you want to
you're
speak.
already
You're already on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get a agenda. Come on up, or?
No, we'll
No?
get you
We'll
Do you
get
wanna-
to you.
on the agenda. And the next person is Mr. Tony.
Mayor Branch, City Councilman, I also would give you an update on the sesquicentennial that's happening here in Brookshire.
Say that 5
We
times fast.
had a, what?
Say that 5 times fast.
Sesquicentennial 5 times fast is
Yeah.
a bit of a tongue twister, yes. That's happening here in Brookshire. We actually had a first kind of brainstorming session from interested members of the community. We had that last week, and it went very well. We had 7 members of our city that turned out, started brainstorming some ideas, putting some great things together. I actually had a chance to follow up with Alderman Hill about a bunch of questions that came out of that meeting, so we got some direction where we're going for that. We're meeting for our next meeting. It's going to be on the 8th at 5:30. We're actually meeting right here on the front steps of the City Hall, and we're going to walk this whole area and look at all of the venues and what's happening, and where we'll be doing a bunch of that type of stuff. And then the other thing that I've been doing is that I've reached out to Truett Bell up at the Historical Society, and he and I have been having some discussions about how a grand reopening for the Donegan House / museum might look, and we're going to carry on that discussion a little bit further with the society once we start moving down those lines. Just again, I want to reiterate, if you have thoughts, questions, concerns, if there's anything that the council would like to have us bring up in these meetings, please feel free to contact me. I think you all have my contact information, and I'll be happy to do that.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Next we have Mike.
I'll just reserve my comments for the agenda.
Okay, then we'll move on to the agenda, which is number 4. We're going to table number 4 for now. Let's move down to agenda item number 5. Discussion and possible action a request by Black Panther Transportation Inc. to amend section 40-172A of the city code of ordinance to allow through commercial vehicles on South Street between Waller Avenue and Alto. Can you speak
Oh,
your name, please?
never mind. I duplicated it for some reason.
Can you speak your name?
Yes, sir. My name is Yahya Bashir. I represent Black Panther Transportation. If I may, I'd like to share a brief summary with the mayor and the council members.
Sir.
Thank you.
As I stated, I do represent Black Panther Transportation, and we are here today requesting an amendment of section 40-172 of chapter 40 of the city ordinance. Specifically, we are looking for an amendment that would exclude South Street from the list of city roads through which commercial 18-wheeler traffic may not travel. And the reason for this request is because Black Panther Transportation is proposing to build and develop a new business in the city of Brookshire. This is going to be a truck wash, an 18-wheeler truck wash and maintenance station, and it's going to be located at South Street. It's going to be abutting a pre-existing Flying J station, which sees a lot of 18-wheeler traffic. Just to give you a bit of a flavor on the project, you may be well aware of it, but just to sort of refresh some recollections. Essentially, this project is approximately a $3 million investment by Black Panther Transportation. It involves heavy investment of capital equipment, real property development. When done, this will serve as a truck wash to hopefully some of the traffic, pre-existing traffic that Flying J sees on a daily basis. We estimate that they see between 200 and 300 18-wheelers on a daily basis. And the hope is that some of those trucks will come through this station, get their truck washed, get some parts and some maintenance done. And we think it's going to be a big revenue driver. Black Panther estimates that they're going to see about $4 million of revenue each year. About $1 million of that will be subject to sales tax, local sales tax. They estimate they're going to hire a minimum of 14 individuals from the community, and they're obviously going to be subject to property taxes and ad valorem taxes on their personal property as well. The issue that Black Panther is confronting at this point is that although this project was already permitted by the city, subsequent to the permitting actually occurring, they were made aware of an issue with South Street not being not one of the roads that through traffic could basically travel on if it's an 18-wheeler. And so we're looking essentially, and the visuals that I've provided kind of have a map that indicates how the ingress and egress would work. But essentially for this project to work, Black Panther would really only need about 490 linear feet of South Street for these 18-wheelers to exit. Otherwise, they're taking up the cost of developing an entrance at 9th Street and or an entrance through the Flying J. But really the issue is we're just simply looking for an amendment to allow an egress and an exit from the existing lot at 4109 South Street back onto Waller and onto the interstate. And that's what we're here asking the council and the mayor to consider, and I'm available for any follow-up questions if you have any.
Are there any type of preventative measures to keep 18-wheelers from turning left once they get to South Street instead of right upon exit?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Turning left from where?
Yes, sir. So they would need 490 linear feet in order to exit the car wash in order to get back to Waller or to exit, right? So what preventative measures would be in place to prevent an 18-wheeler from turning left? Because then at that point, they would be in violation of our ordinance, but then that's going to require calling somebody out in order to give citations to somebody.
Sure. So that actually did come up in discussions through Black Panther, and the idea was that they may curve the exit ramp from
Okay.
the lot in such a way that an 18-wheeler would not be able to take a left on
Not
exit.
without
It would force
Hopping
a
some
right.
serious curbs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And there'd be signage as well prohibiting a left exit, but yeah.
Yeah,
Any other questions?
we know how effective signage is sometimes.
Yeah.
But still, I think a curved driveway would at least,
It's gonna start from the property out to the street, the South Street. Start from the property inside the property.
Essentially, they won't have a choice but to turn right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, have y'all received approval from the property owners at 9th to put a sign there that would indicate that this is the entrance?
We have not, and would there be, I mean, do you foresee a requirement for approval on a sign?
I mean, if you're telling me the dedicated plan is they're gonna enter on 9th Street,
Correct.
there's gonna have to be something that indicates don't go to South Street. So you gotta have something there, otherwise trucks are gonna be going to South Street and trying to come in that way, or they're gonna have to then go back
Figure out a way to
into
turn around.
the residential downtown area, take a loop around. So what measures do you have in place to ensure incoming traffic is solely traveling down 9th Street up to the property?
I can see that. I think that would be an issue that we'd address with the property owners as far as placing signage that would be the entrance. There are some talks with the existing property Flying J to have an entrance really come through there where the traffic is already. They're fueling up there anyways, and so that if that is the plan, there may not even be an entrance on 9th Street. It would go through the Flying J. Which
It
is a
was my
property.
understanding that y'all already had that conversation, and the conversation was a no.
The conversation's ongoing right now.
So, in theory, this is a little bit premature, because we need to have those assurances one way or the other, right?
Well, as far as South Street's concerned, I don't see it as premature. I think we're simply looking for that phase. I mean, for the project to be feasible, we need an exit either way on South Street. If the city council will support this new business coming into the community and hopefully helping generate some tax revenue and get some jobs, support us with this, and we will take the necessary steps to ensure that we have no issues on 9th Street, or we're going through the Flying J. But we kind of need the support of council to get going and to secure that first step.
Mr. Hill, I am in support of this, but whoever makes the motion to have that, I think that it should be contingent on the both issues that you and Ms. Neuendorf brought up.
Also, as well as South Street and Waller Avenue, have you contacted TxDOT to see if they have any questions, or because you're probably gonna have to make some changes
We have.
there?
We have. We've contacted TxDOT, and the engineer for the project shared a site plan and essentially the Google Maps images of the connections between South Street and Waller. And TxDOT did not seem to have any objections to the project moving forward. We have that in writing from TxDOT, and so I don't foresee any issues there.
Do you have that with, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mayor.
That would be helpful. if
Sure.
you Got a copy of that, because it's gonna take a lot from pull out, get on Waller Avenue and not striking another car going north. Cause there's only just 2 lanes there.
So I would also argue that you already have pre-existing traffic on Waller Avenue making that left into the Flying J. You have 300 trucks doing it every day. Maybe half of them are going through that route, but you have that traffic coming in already.
I would like to make the argument that, yeah, and people notice that because that's a truck stop.
Right.
You're coming up the road by a church that, and a new business that I've been in support of your project since I heard the confusion that went on. But, you know, it's going to take a minute for everybody to realize that past the First Baptist Church, there's an entrance, and you may want to be more noticeable that there is 18-wheelers coming in and out of there. I mean, we're not talking Mini Coopers coming out. We're talking now we have 18-wheelers entering and exiting in 2 different places in a very short span of
Distance, yeah.
Time.
Very short.
Sure.
Do you have the TxDOT information with you? The approvals?
I have a digital copy of the text.
Okay. Yeah, that
And I
would be
can forward
sufficient.
that to you directly.
Could you forward it to us? My suggestion, council, and whoever wants to make the motion or what that looks like, we need to table this, because I'd like to see that first
Sure.
before we agree to something. We want to make sure, now I've done this on other things, so I'm not just picking on y'all, but I want to make sure that all cognitive parties, the drainage districts here, recently forced someone to come back to us until they could show me the permit from the drainage district. So in keeping with our standard, at least my standard practice, I don't want to speak for entire council, till we can see that, I don't feel comfortable voting one way or the other. So if you can provide that to staff, and if we can table this to another agenda.
Sure.
would
Council
be-
and Councilman Hill and the
Sure.
rest of council. And just, since this is, all this is discussing the possibility of amending just the text of the ordinance. You are not actually amending the ordinance tonight. We'll have to bring an ordinance change back to you.
Mhm.
And you're not approving the project by doing this. All you're doing is amending the text of the ordinance. Because right now, the prohibition is because there's no through truck, I think it's through truck traffic
Yep.
Correct.
on South Street. So you would have to, the very first step at all, before they pursue this project, is to get that ordinance change amended. And so,
It doesn't change my
It
motion.
real easy. We'll do everything at once. What do you think, Mr. Pruitt?
well, I'm telling you, that's what the motion is for tonight.
So is that your motion, Mr. Hill?
Yeah, let's table it till we can get all the relevant information and then
Second.
bring it back to the city council.
Sure. Thank you.
And
4.
Taylor.
4.
This item will be, tabled to-
And make sure you get to that staff, like, within the next week, if we want it. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 1402, regarding the approval of seller H preliminary plat. Is anyone else on that? It's, a resolution regarding the approval of Stella Estates preliminary plat. That's you?
Yes.
Come on up.
So, my name is Roberto Gonzalez.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
what's your name?
Roberto Gonzalez.
Go ahead.
And we are, our development is, it's a multifamily development that was actually approved through the Drainage District back in February 2022. And it's been approved with the MUD District as well. But we were at a standpoint with regards to the plat. Apparently, the property was not replatted into it, you know, per the current requirements of the ordinance of the city, or, because at that point when we developed it, we had no idea that the planning group was involved. And so now we're going kind of backwards and submitting a plat for that property. And we're at the preliminary stage of the plat. So it's been reviewed by the planning group, which is the consultant to the city. And they recommended for it to be looked at by the board on October 20th, and then was moved to October 22nd, I believe, the last meeting. And then it was moved again to be reviewed or looked at today. So I'm here for any questions or any comments you all may have. But as I stated before, it's been approved by the Drainage District back in February 4th, 2022. And it's been approved by in terms of the project, it's been approved by my district as well. And I have copies of documents here with me.
Mayor Branch, if it pleases you and the rest of the council, I'd like to ask, excuse me, Ms. Lotta, or any comments or concerns on this?
This plat was on the agenda last time, and it was recommended for approval. They meet all the requirements except for these 3 conditions. I believe that the reason it was tabled last time was the applicant wasn't here, and the council wanted to make sure that the applicant showed up today. But other than that, you see the recommendation in your report. So we do recommend approval with the following conditions as listed in your report. But they meet all the other
And
requirements.
he's been made aware of the conditions, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And
Yes, ma'am.
yes, and he was also reminded today to show up.
Sure. Are you ready? No? I make a motion that we accept resolution 1403 with conditions that has been stated previously by the Gunda Corporation.
Second.
Mr. Hill
4.
and Ms. Taylor.
4.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, discussion regarding floodplain development requirements in the city of Brookshire. Brookshire Payne Drainage District and Gunda. The Kitchman is not here, so we'll just hold off.
You said agenda item number 7, I'm looking at number 9, I don't know if we're looking at the same agenda.
Number 7, I'm on.
I'm looking at number 9.
I have no idea.
No, it's not 9. No, 9 is something else. That's number 7. It was right. We correct.
I think the copies that y'all have back here.
Okay.
Mr. Kinsman is on this.
He's on his way, right?
Yes. Okay, let's move on to agenda item number.
Ms. Glover, could you do me a favor and get a couple of corrected copies for made for the audience, please. I don't think you have to make 50 because most of them's here for the same agenda item. Thank you.
11 o'clock.
Okay, now, agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 1416, a resolution accepting a proposal and entering into a contract for permit and code enforcement software. Mr. Hill.
Mayor and council, in your packets, we have the 2 proposed softwares that we've demoed. And as y'all are aware, our permitting process is one that we've been trying to improve. And one of the issues that I found in multiple conversations and scenarios with our consultants and with a lot of other people is consistency in processes. And unfortunately, when you don't have a centralized system that forces everyone on the same page, it leaves open to interpretation. So we've demoed 2 different softwares. The GoGov software that's in your packet, I demoed this with staff last week, and they were very responsive to it. It'll solve a number of issues for us. Number one, it solves our permitting issue as far as our process being totally outlined, who's the cognitive party that should be answering questions. It has some intuitive communication processes where it'll automatically let an applicant know that something's changed on their status, so they're not having to necessarily call City Hall. The other good part of it is the online permitting, the code enforcement software, which will allow us to have our code enforcement in the field take pictures of violations. It automatically syncs to the file to keep a history of it, but it also automatically generates the violation letters as well. So instead of him coming in here or his staff and having to hand type out every single letter every single day, it'll automatically be generated, and all he's got to do is come here, hit print, put it in an envelope, stamp it, certify it, send it out. So it's almost like having another staff member, to a degree. My request, or my motion would be, if, again, I'm open to discussion on this, so I won't call it my motion until we have discussion, would be that we, number one, approve this software, but then we also approve an allowance of $1,200 because there is going to need to be a tablet purchased, a car charger, stuff like that, so the person in the field, it would need to be dated with Verizon or something like that so they have access to it. That would be what I would want to see the motion made on this one. And again, GoGov would be my recommendation.
Any further discussion?
Do we have any lines that have been freed up from investigation with other departments that have excessive lines that are already open?
Not at this moment that I'm aware of. But we do have multiple lines on administrative, so we could easily
Transfer one over?
have Verizon activate an iPad under one of those lines of service.
Excuse me.
Any other questions for me?
I did hear from staff that they were quite excited about it and was,
It's going to make a world difference for that entire process for us.
I just think that it'll improve the perception of communication overall too, from city staff out to citizens. It's the stuff that we need.
so did you say that was your motion a while ago, Mr. Hill?
I'll formally make it if you're ready for a motion, Mayor.
We're ready.
I move that we approve the GoGov contract for permitting and code enforcement software in the amount of $13,200 per year, and additionally an allowance of $1,200 for technology for use of code enforcement officer.
Second.
Four.
Motion carries. Let's move on to agenda item number 9. Discussion and possible action regarding the request for hotel occupancy tax funding by Mr. Stephen Flowers Funeral and cremations for advertising for the Veterans Day Out event to be held on November the 11th, 2022.
Good evening. I'm Austin Stevens. I'm representing Stevens and Flowers Funeral and Cremations, and also representing the people that allowed you to be able to stand and salute that flag this evening, our veterans. I've been trying for months to get funding so that we can have an event at the hangar and also at Denny's Restaurant, who is going to furnish the breakfast for us. We'll be having the County Veteran Service Officer come in and speak and give them update on the new PACT information, which veterans benefits. And also that evening, we've got to reserve the hangar to where we can have music, barbecue, and fellowship. We also need monies for motel rooms for our entertainment.
Mr. Stevens, did anyone make you aware of that the way that the hotel motel grant works?
No, ma'am. I've been trying for 3 months and getting the runaround.
Well, the way that it works is you have to put the money up front first.
No problem.
Then you get reimbursed. It has to be a 2-day event. So, in looking at this, I don't see the second day, but I'd be willing to somehow work with you if the rest of the council would be willing to at least do a partial fund of this, that you have it just as a 1-day event, that maybe we could we sponsor the dinner or not?
So you can. The reason I think that your policy for the hotel office tax committee, when they had that, is because the main thing you got to do with the hot funds is just get heads and beds, and so that's why that hotel portion is there. But if the group can guarantee that there's going to be people sleeping, then it doesn't have to be a 2-day event. As long as the reason they're in the hotel is because of the event, then that's satisfied. But you're free to approve the funding. You can do it reimbursement like you've done in the past. All of that is fine.
Well, that's our policy, is it has to be done as a reimbursement. The company pays out and then comes and we reimburse the funds. Is that gonna be a problem?
That's not a problem.
I'd be willing to make a motion that we do this up to $2,500, not the whole $5,000, to be reimbursed $2,500 for supporting the Veterans Day Out, contingent that they do put heads in beds.
Second.
Four.
Four.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Next agenda is number 10, discussion and possible action regarding the fence and setbacks of the property located at 4720 South Street. Ms. Woods.
Hello.
Hello.
So, Mayor,
Hello.
Alder women and aldermen, I am Tanya Gage Woods. I'm standing before you to discuss 2 items of concern. One that's been going on for a while and one that's more recent. The first item of concern that I want to discuss is something that's been going on for the last 3 years that I've been going back and forth with the council members for a while, and that is the setback of commercial building within a residential area. I think currently the ordinance is set at 25 feet, and about 3 years ago, it was put on the agenda for discussion of increasing it. Nothing came about it. It was on the agenda for discussion, research was gonna be done, and it was never brought up again. So a year or so ago, the land was put up for sale at an extremely costly amount. I started having the discussion with the council members, certain ones, to let them know that at that price that it was being sold for, it's for commercial purposes. It was sold. Of course, last year we went through this issue of a pesticide warehouse attempting to be put in between two residential homes. That was for whatever reason, not sure, didn't occur, thankfully. But the land is up for sale again. And it extremely it was 225,000, it was reduced to 100 and something thousand. Intent of commercial use, going for that much. So to prevent the city, to prevent me having to come before you again, asking that a commercial building not be put up in between two homes, I'm asking the city to consider increasing the setback. We're looking to keep the integrity of the city up, y'all. And if you allow, we don't have zoning. And in order to get around not having zoning, these ordinances are put in place for a reason. Whoever tried to put a pesticide company in between two homes, they wouldn't want a pesticide company next to their home. I don't want a business next to my home. I don't. If I had the money, I would purchase the land next to me to keep a business from coming in between two homes. So I'm asking the city to please consider increasing the setback of a commercial building coming in between a residential home, two homes. That's the first thing that I'm asking for. The second thing, and I want to share this with you. I only made 4 copies.
I went and looked at it for myself, so
Okay.
you can.
Oh, y'all ready?
Yeah,
Oh.
I stay on top of things. My
Well,
phone
this is a
rings
picture
constantly.
I'm sorry. This is a picture of a fence, and we have fence ordinances. Yeah, that's in place as well. I was excited that a fence was coming up next to me. I'm thinking the fence was gonna go all the way back to the property. It was gonna help me fence in my property in the back. It didn't. It stopped at the back of my garage. Why, I don't know. That's not my concern. My concern is following the city ordinance and having the fence go all the way in front of my home, all the way to the road. I took a picture of what another fence in the a couple of more fences in the community, what they look like. Decent looking fences, appropriate looking fences. Fences that are put up solidly. The one that's put up next to me, some of the boards are not even nailed in. They're gonna fall, but that's not my concern either. What my concern is the fence following the city ordinance. When I left today, when I pulled out of my driveway today, guess what I saw? I saw a tag. But my concern is we should have been proactive instead of reactive, because phone calls were made to inform people, council members, that the fence was getting ready to go up. I didn't mind. My question was, please have the gentleman follow the city ordinance. Being proactive. I wouldn't want anybody to waste money. Wood is very expensive. Waste money, go buy wood, and then having to not follow the city ordinance. That's money wasted.
If it helps your feelings any, we sent the code enforcement officer out there, the building inspector.
He actually put a stop to work the day you was sent out.
Yeah,
So,
correct.
you know,
Correct, I agree.
Well,
I was there.
well, I'm not gonna speak for the rest of the council, but I'll speak for myself. I'm so frustrated with employees that if I have to hold your hand for
Right.
you to do your job,
Correct.
then I might as well quit the $92.35 I get paid to sit up here every month
Correct.
and go make your money that you're getting paid.
Right.
So it wasn't like the mayor has neglected your phone calls,
Not seeing that.
or a council person has, because I'm not the only council person.
Correct.
I know of other council people. And you tell somebody to go do their job, well, I got 10 other Miss Woods calling
Correct.
my phone.
Right.
Their trash didn't get picked up, or the water district still hadn't fixed the leak where you'll dig out my ditch.
Correct.
And on the behalf of the city of Brookshire, Miss Woods, I am so sorry that it took us to today to get a red tag put on that fence, but I assure you that it will be brought up to the city ordinance.
Thank you.
And I hate that you had to waste your time and our time. No, I'm just joking,
So,
joking.
okay.
We've been knowing
So,
each
but
other a long
And the
time.
reason I'm here is because I don't mind making phone calls. The phone calls I made were very receptive, and I thank you. But making phone calls, I'm not a phone, so I wanted everybody to hear
Absolutely.
at one time. And I wanted to be on paper that these concerns were expressed yet again on the setback, and the fence was a concern. And again, I was excited because I was thinking it was gonna go all the way back, and I didn't have to put that third wood, on the other side to get animals back there. But I was disappointed because it did stop at the end of my garage, so I was disappointed about that. But other than that, just follow the ordinance. And I know y'all can't police, police everywhere because there's so much going on, but, so, that's it. Oh.
We're
well,
trying.
I do would like feedback on the setback.
From the road to.
No, setback from a commercial
Property lines.
property line, right, from a commercial building and a residential property line. It's 25 feet. Will it be increased?
Well, I think to Ms. Wood's point, and actually just to go on the record, because I have this to state later, but in previous council meetings, we have already asked for the red line changes that the Gunda Corporation has recommended be sent to council members so that we can finally make a decision on it, because this was something that was being discussed prior to Mr. Hill and I taking office here. And to your point, still no decision has been made. And for public record, those red line change recommendations still have not been sent to us.
So I'll make a
But we're
comment for
holding
you.
hands.
Yeah, and then I'll get to Mr. Pruitt and ask him a question on this. But take it a step further. I don't mind us looking at a setback as
Yeah.
a stopgap, but we are exploring zoning and what the options are to move forward with that, because this is going to be an issue all across the
Yes.
city. And as I've told
Especially
people,
as we grow.
you can have a row of 4 houses. Amazon, God bless them for what they do, but they could buy 2 of those houses in the middle, and you wake up looking at Amazon on either side. And so we need to address that to preserve the residential
Right.
areas. Mr. Pruitt, for you, my concern with this is I think this was a clever construction that the fence is now faced to her property. And I've always heard the interpretation that if the main face of the fence is facing your property, it's considered your fence now.
I don't know.
So in this, let me finish, please. Thank you.
Just a minute.
Now, because it is facing her house, technically this is supposed to stop at the front of her house and go down to a 4-foot fence. So who do we hold accountable? Obviously, I don't want Ms. Woods to have to pay someone to go out there and fix this because she didn't elect to erect it, or did she consent to it? What's our course moving forward? Because it needs to be fixed because it is facing, and I guarantee the next property owner is probably going to go, hey, it ain't facing my side, so why should I maintain it?
So the property owner on which the fence is sitting, that's who's responsible for maintenance of the fence. That's clearly in your code. I don't know the answer about which way it faces or
Sure.
not, but if it's on your property, that property owner is responsible for maintenance of that fence. And then, and if the code requires, it does require 75% clearance as it comes down on the front, so that'd be on the property owner as well.
So what are our recourse? Do we start sending citations to the property owner to fix it, and it's so many, a
Right.
fine per day until they do it?
Yeah, you should follow the code for that, and there's a provision for that in there.
Okay, so I'm willing to let you speak, but
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woods.
I purchased a property last year. We went through the permitting process, as I'm sure you guys are well aware,
And the code, the ordinance that I was looking at, the permit, I was given a permit after 6 or 7 months, went through that process, was permitted to build a commercial building. That permit was never officially or unofficially revoked. I was simply told I would not be given a business license for my pest control company there. But the permits are still in place, and it says in section 5020, standards for commercial properties, screening, all commercial establishments located to or adjoining an existing residential use shall be screened on all sides adjoining such residential use by a 6-foot solid fence.
That was my next question.
It was
Have you
approved.
erected
I've
a
got the
commercial
approval
building
right
right
here.
now?
What's that?
Is there a commercial building on the property right now?
No, I was approved for a commercial.
But there's not a commercial building on the property
No,
right
sir, I
now?
was approved to build the commercial building. And Ms. Woods, I've had this property surveyed 5 or 6 times. She's removed those markings that many times, so I had to do something to show the property line because her driveway was encroaching on my property. I tried to speak with her, she would not speak to me, I tried to reach her several times, and so I need to sell this property. I have a family, I've lost so much money over this, and I went and I followed the letter of the law from the very beginning, what you guys told me to do. Permits, everything else for months, and then all of a sudden, because she chose to live in an area there's no zoning, I'm being punished for that and losing money. So I'm just trying to sell and get out of Brookshire as fast as I can and stop losing money. I have a family, I have a small business that I'm trying to maintain. You know, obviously I'm not wanted at that, and that's fine. I'm trying to get out and lose as little money. I mean, I've already lost a lot. I'm just trying to lose as little as I can and get out. I put that fence to your side because it's the more attractive side. Forgive me for trying to be considerate in that. I mean, and there is nothing about the 4 feet in here. You know, all I'm trying to do, again, is follow the letter of the law, as I have done from the day that I bought the property.
I think the problem that they have with it is, yes, that is true and correct, but it's sort of like putting the cart before the horse, because the building is not there yet, and you can pick and choose if it's gonna be residential or, excuse me, commercial use when the land is sold. And I think that's
But as she said,
the gray
price
area.
that I paid for it,
I-
and the money that I
oh,
put in for
I
buildings,
understand.
buildings
That
and
sounds true,
everything else,
correct?
over $60,000 just in development,
yours,
that I can't
his. What
get
would that
that
be
money
called?
back. It's gone. So
Would his
you know,
be
I can't be
47?
sold as residential, or I'm gonna lose another $100,000.
Right, I
I don't
understand.
have that money to lose, ma'am. I apologize.
You don't have to apologize to me, because I understand. I've been through this from the beginning.
So I'm just begging for some kind of help or forgiveness here. I've been trying to beg from the very beginning. I don't know what else to do, honestly. So you know, I guess that's all I have to say.
You have anything, sir?
I'm ready for a motion if you want one.
Any other discussion? No?
Make a
Open
motion.
to a motion.
I make the motion that we instruct Mr. Pruitt to get with cognitive staff to start the process of citations on this property every single day until the fence is brought into conformance.
Second.
Ms. Newell?
4.
For
Let's move to agenda number 11. We're going to table this and
Do you want to go back to the drainage district?
discussing and possible action regarding the planning service contract. They're requesting a meeting with myself and whoever. All right?
Yep.
Do we want to go back to the drainage district?
Mayor,
Yeah.
I was just gonna bring your attention to what Mr. Hill just said. that Mr. Kitzman has arrived.
Yeah, I saw him. Let's go back to agenda item number 7, which is discussion regarding floodplain development requirements in the city of Brookshire, Katy Drainage District, and Boonville, and
Ardura.
Mr. Stanley, who's going first?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council and citizens. I don't mind going first, but I don't know why I'm here. We don't mind ever discussing, and we're certainly glad to be here to discuss what's on your mind, but I really don't know the scope of the topic we're supposed to discuss.
I believe this lady right here is gonna go first then.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat as Mr. Kissinger. We were saying while she was doing it in Ardura. I believe you guys have questions regarding your floodplain ordinance.
So council, just make, why this is here is when there was a
And
waiver,
on
there was a
Second
waiver
Street.
suggested, I think 2 or 3 meetings ago.
Yes.
On Second Street, right?
And the motion was made to deny the waiver, but also to have Gunda Corporation and the Drainage District here to explain,
Wow.
the issues with it, and that's about all we had. So I think that's why there's some
Shouldn't
confusion.
we have gave them like a heads up? Mr. Kinsman looks like he hadn't done his homework yet because we failed to give him the book to do the lesson out of. And I don't like when Mr. Kinsman looks like that.
If we know the specific thing, maybe we can shed some light on that, all right? But,
It's the
I
property
don't
on
understand why
Second
he
Street,
wasn't
correct?
informed.
I don't know. I don't know.
I have.
No, 2 meetings ago, there was an individual that was here who wanted to construct, I don't remember exactly what the construction was, but it was on Second Street. We went back and forth. And then there was an individual here who said that he was not requesting a waiver, and his poor engineer wasn't even realizing that he was requesting a waiver. And even though he said he had already gotten approval from Mr. Kitzman to go ahead and start construction. So that's whenever we said, hold up, let's table it.
again, without knowing exactly which property that
I agree with
is,
you.
Do you remember?
a little difficult.
No, I agree with you. I'm disappointed to hear that you were not informed properly.
Which meeting was this?
This was like 2 meetings ago.
I have no culpability in putting this matter on the agenda, first and foremost. But it's the property you and I spoke about where there'd been some, shall we say, enhanced dumping of, dirt with no approval. He stood here and repeatedly stated that he had Mr. Stan's approval to do basically whatever, and
Yep.
I was a little skeptical of that assessment.
3120 Second Street.
Mr. Mayor, with your permission, I'll give kind of an overview of how things work and where I think we are with this.
Go ahead.
Right now, in the city of Brookshire, and it's been
There
this
we
way
go.
for a long time, is the city has the authority on permitting. So if you wanna build something, you have to get your building permits from the city. But the Brookshire Katy Drainage District, under the law that created that, says that we have authority on the overflowed lands of the district, which is 49,000 acres in southeastern Waller County. It includes all of the city of Brookshire. So we work together to go through the permitting process, and at times that can be rather confusing for the citizens, and at times it's even kind of ambiguous for us, and we with the changes going on at the drainage district and here at the city, I think we need to talk about some ways to improve this process. But something that came from the city several years ago that really helped was a sign-off sheet so that each entity involved in the permitting process, TxDOT, Brookshire Municipal Water District, Brookshire Katy Drainage District, and the city, those other agencies would have to sign off on their portion of the project before the city would issue their permits. And so that's worked fairly well, but it's never exactly smooth. If I'm remembering the correct property, and where we have a hang up with it, let me back up. For most drainage issues, we're it. The citizen comes to us, we give them a permit or tell them the permit's not required, we sign off on the sheet, and that's it. But if it's in the floodplain, which Fourth Street, most of that on the east end is in floodplain, well, we're not the floodplain administrator. And there's another layer of law there for the floodplain. The city is the floodplain administrator. Out in the county is the floodplain administrator. In the city of Patterson, they're floodplain administrator. So we may go over what's technically all right with us, but I don't get to address floodplain issues. Now, our old engineer, Charles Calcamy, is a certified floodplain administrator. Our new engineer, Rod Canario, is a certified floodplain engineer, or floodplain manager. They get to do that in other places. Like Charles was floodplain administrator for City of Patterson because he was their engineer. But we don't get to do that in the city of Brookshire. And so there's been a little difficulty tossing this back and forth. It does add confusion to the permitting process. Many of the citizens or developers get frustrated with this process because they're told they have to come see us. We go through our process and then we tell them they gotta come right back to the city for a floodplain issue. And that, again, that's something I hope we'll get to discuss a solution for that. But if I'm, and this is a big if I'm picturing the right property, the fellow hauled in dirt and he hauled it in on the floodplain. That's not legal.
Right.
Actually, he said he brought in 50
70.
low,
70 loads.
70.
Yes, sir. If you would like do you mind if I give you an overview?
That to me, but my deal was, and again, I hate this is on the record, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I wouldn't sign his sheet.
Correct.
Because he was pushed all the way up against the fence.
Correct.
And he had done all this, so I was like, look, you gotta get 5 feet off that fence. And we went over there many times, and he finally got that done, but I told him, I said, you got a whole nother issue with the floodplain. You probably should have never brought this dirt in here to begin with, but I don't have the jurisdiction to do anything with that. And we have the same problem all over town. People buy a piece of property, it holds water, which is what things on Katy and Brookshire Prairie do. And they want to improve their property, you can't knock them for that. But there's a process to do that, and there's things they have to do to offset if they wanna bring in the fill. And so where are we at? To me, I'm not trying to pass the buck, but that's a floodplain issue that has to be addressed, and we may, you have to ask your attorney, have the authority to tell him to remove all that dirt. And he probably won't be happy about that.
He wasn't happy when we told him that.
But I warned him about that from the beginning. But so when we're in the process of going around and kind of, we have our inspector out patrolling, and I drive around, and I forgot to introduce my staff, I'm sorry. But we have Wendy Sidwell, who is our district administrator. She runs the office part of the district. Buddy Brand is the assistant general manager, and Michael McCarthy is one of our engineers. And he comes from Quiddity, but he helped take over when Charles left. And so that's our team. We're always there to help. We're always there to try to answer questions, hopefully sift through this, make it better for the city, or make it better for the citizens, but also have sound policy for the city and the drainage district, and do our duty as the law requires. I'm gonna throw this in real quick. One of my solutions is, and we've undergone a lot of changes in the drainage district. We've got new engineers, we've got a new attorney now. Wendy's been here a little over a year, and she's really done a good job with that side. We even have new auditors. We're doing it all. But with that, I asked the question, what could we do about letting us do the floodplain manager part? And without having I'm throwing this on you all tonight, but I don't mean to do that to you, but the attorney said he thought, that we might could just do an interlocal agreement and let us handle that, and that way it'd be a one-stop shop for the citizens for all things having to do with drainage and cut down on the confusion. That's something y'all just need to contemplate. It's your right, your duty. We're not trying to usurp anything that you do. We just wanna help, and while we have this kind of joint permitting process, cause that's the way things got laid out a long time ago, maybe we can simplify that and make it a little better. All I'd ask you to do is consider that idea. I'm not sure what Gunda thinks about it. They can speak for themselves. But I would think that would really help. Our board, I think, is up to considering that. It's gonna take the two attorneys to look it over and make sure that's really the right thing to do and how to do it. But then, of course, the ultimate decision on letting us handle the floodplain issues for the city would be up to y'all, and it's your right and privilege.
So I've been doing your floodplain review for a while now, and forgive me for not knowing which case came to you with the variance request.
Would you like an update?
Sure.
So this is the meeting on October 13th. I tend to take fairly decent notes. So this is for 3120 2nd Street. It was Mr. Carrion came forward representing himself, as well as another property owner. Mr. Mailer was here also representing him. And they were requesting a variance on floodplain mitigation. Except for throughout the course of discussion, it came to find out that the engineer was not aware that his client was requesting a variance. Mr. Barnes stated that he had met with him on several times and told them about the differences between a floodplain issue versus getting approval from the Brookshire Katy Drainage District. I believe Mr. Hill requested several times to see the documents that you had signed approving it, and they could not produce those because it sounds like they didn't exist. And then also we talked about how it was recommended that we did not accept the variance because it could negatively affect our city's national flood insurance plan, which I think would be a poor decision on our part as council. And then Mr. Kelly gave us an overview that 70 loads of dirt were brought in. The owner was asked to remove the dirt, and the response from the owner was let the city take care of it. So that's whenever we voted to postpone that item and invite you here to be with us so that you could stand up for yourself because you were kind of thrown under the bus in that meeting.
I hope we're talking about the right piece of property and not disparaging some other poor citizens.
This is the one that was on the.
But if, in the end, granting a variance in floodplain is really touchy because the whole thing is just for the public's knowledge. In all the drainage, the reason you get a drainage permit essentially is you have to be a good neighbor. And so, if what other Mother Nature has the land doing right now, if you get a 1-inch drain and get 3 feet of water on your property, that's the way it is. But if one neighbor makes a change that negatively affects the other neighbor, people downstream, so people that didn't flood before, now they flood because someone made a change. They're responsible for that. And that's why something as big as a subdivision has to account for their water and put in detention ponds and drainage channels and all that. But that comes right down to the micro level, from one neighbor next to another. And that's where you get the idea of the city ordinance that you have, is it 7.5 or 5 feet you gotta leave off?
7.5.
7 now? Okay, well that changed. But, you have to leave that space. So if you have 7 feet on one neighbor and you got 7 feet from the other, now you've got 14 feet that water can still go around and hopefully not adversely affect someone. If it was our policy out in the county, in the drainage district, we require 10 feet. But it's your rule, and that's fine. But the whole idea is to be a good neighbor. It's like having good fences and everything else. You don't want to do something that negatively harms the people downstream of you. You don't want to block water that backs up on someone. You we're here to help, we're here to talk about whatever you wanna talk about, we'll do our best, and we might have to go do some research for it.
Mr. Kissman, the Astros is playing tonight.
Okay. Well, that's the other thing, Mr. Mayor, I apologize for being late. I took a trip up to Capital City today, and I was a little slow getting back, but there's a lot of troopers between here and
And they're mad they have to work tonight.
And this is on here just for discussion, so,
I think it was just an opportunity for him to explain maybe to us as well as to the.
well, I think Mr. Kissman had a great idea that Mr. Barnes and I forgot the gentleman's name that's sitting by Buddy Brand back there, and this lady here all get together and come up with some kind of
Interlocal agreement.
Floodplain administrator.
directive for Mr. Pruitt to make an interlocal agreement between the city and the drainage district to handle that floodplain stuff. And welcome to Brookshire, homeboy. I forgot your name.
Welcome to
Yeah, you.
Brookshire, homeboy.
Well, that, you know, if it's legal and constitutional and the two bodies want to agree to that, we can go to work coordinating, Mr. Pruitt and see what we come up, so you have something to look at.
You can't talk, Mike. Just agree with it. The Astros is playing and we got a long ways to go.
I was just going to say that in our conversation with Mr. Kitzman, I thought it was a brilliant idea, and that I told him, and I want to publicly say this, I would gladly recommend that to council. That's all.
Okay.
10-4. Let's go.
And if I might, one more thing for the citizens.
You can't blame me on this one now.
You have these separate entities, we are separate and independent. I have an elected board of the drainage district, the water district has their elected board, you have your city council here. But we do try to work together. And,
Right.
So over the years, we have polished some things, and try to make them better. You're our citizens, doesn't matter, where you are, you're the taxpayers here. And, we try to come up with ways to make it better. All this growth and all this change has brought some things to the surface that before just weren't that big a deal.
Yep.
And so, we'll need to work on that. Michael, you want to add my floodplain explanation?
You did a great job. I think the most important matter is getting with the legal team, see the, I guess, the workings of the interlocal agreement. The biggest thing is when you, and I'm sure you can spoke to this as well, but the ordinances is what everything you live by when it comes to floodplain administration, just like for everything else. So even, I know y'all were speaking on variance requests, the certain things in the ordinance that would pertain to just the variance itself, but as well as the floodplain administrative role. So for example, Quinity Engineering, we have, the floodplain administrator role for City of Patterson as well as the City of Weston Lakes. Both of those ordinances are different and the roles will be different. So if there ever be a change or there ever be a different interpretation on that, that would have to come from y'all, to, adopt a new ordinance. And as well as naming the floodplain administrator, it won't be necessarily, it has to be a person or a position. So it couldn't be Brookshire City Drainage District, it would have to either be Brookshire City Drainage District Engineer, or it could be some, Sam Kitzman, for example. So that's just the kind of my 2 cents on it.
And what was your name
My name
again?
is Michael McCarthy. But we're happy to review the ordinance and go over it with you, and talk internally with our team and, hopefully continue this discussion.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Okay. All right, thank y'all. That was good. We're gonna table some of these.
Okay, agenda item
Jesus,
number
I'm so
12.
hungry.
Discussion and possible action regarding the ongoing lease with Brookshire Youth Sport League with the submission of a financial report to council
We'll be hungry.
for October the 31st. Mr. Newendorf.
Yeah, so I just requested this item to be placed on the agenda just because I know that it's been a while since the lease was signed, and I know that council, since the lease was signed, has not had an update from it. There were a couple of concerns that were brought to my attention by individual citizens, and so I wanted an opportunity to address those as well. So do you want to discuss the, is that, you look like you wanted to say something?
I just had comments on it as well.
Okay. If we could look at the financial report first. We need to wait for her to return. Or no, since we, or,
No,
okay.
When was that emailed to us? When was that emailed to us?
Friday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nope, Monday the 31st. 9/18.
Got it.
Just one second. We got one council member.
Oh, okay.
She's coming right.
She had to go step out and grab something.
Who's rooting for the Astros?
Everybody.
It's 2-1.
I know. What? Oh, Pena. Somebody texted me, said Penn's home run, and I was like, Pennsylvania home run. No, Pena. Okay, we're happy then, 2-1.
Okay, you ready, Ms. Brent?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well,
Did I miss Mr. Jenkins?
Not yet.
We waited for you.
Let me,
Stop it. I said.
He insisted that we wait for you.
go ahead, Mr. G.
Well, you all requested us to come up and submit our financial report along with the deed, along with the lease. Okay, is there any question about the finance report?
The only question that I have would be just the documentation of a Word document P&L. I don't know that it reflects every piece of financials. But then also, one thing that struck me was for the spring registrations, during the spring registrations, myself and Mr. Hill and my husband were still board members.
Correct.
I know with the fact that that number is not correct. We did not have $1,700 worth of registrations whenever we had 68 registered kids during the springtime at $125 apiece.
It wasn't $125 a piece. Also, you have to remember that we did have kids that we sponsored. Some of the things that we sponsored, you would include to that information.
No, that's right.
So that's the reason why you'll see that drop. We sponsor kids all the time. We don't turn no kid away, regardless of their means to pay, or if the parents come up and say they don't want to pay. We don't care. I will go in my pocket, and that kid would play, regardless. I don't care. You know, you'll see on this financial report, you'll see that we're in the hole. My brother and I, we come in our pocket and we pay for it. We don't ask no questions. We don't ask. The person in charge of registration, she said, we got these many people need to be registered. I like, do it. I don't care, do it. We'll make it work some kind of way. I pull money out of this to go into this, or I volunteer my time to do this. It doesn't matter, it's all about Brookshire kids. And that's the way that we look at it from a board standpoint. And I have always stood behind that, and if a parent don't like what we're doing, I go in my pocket and I pay them their money, because I don't want no issues. If they don't like what we're doing, I don't mind paying them what they don't pay into it. You know, and that's just the way I operate. Because everything is not for everybody. You know, but that's the reason why you see that difference there.
So what I was speaking of, though, is that at that time, one of my positions with the board was to assist with registrations through TeamSnap, and I had visibility to all of the credit card charges that came through. So that's what I was speaking to.
Okay.
There have been, I don't have any additional questions on the financials, so I'll wait for my other council members if they have questions. Is that a no, or do I need to wait?
Proceed. I'm trying to get it pulled up personally.
Sure.
Go ahead, proceed.
The only other question that I had was, so I was not a council member whenever the actual lease was finalized and signed. This is where I'm going to defer to my council members that have been here with tenure. I do remember, though, at the time whenever we were here requesting for a lease, because I was sitting in the audience at the time, that there was a specific request for infrastructure changes to not be made. Since my time of election in May until now, Mr. Kelly, I know in some of your reports that you've given and the invoices, there's been, if I remember correctly, a little bit over $8,000 so far has been spent on different things out at Hovis Park. And I know that you clarified some of that was repairing the water park. There were some valve issues out there and some other various things. But then I know a couple of them also were projects around the baseball fields and things like that. On the financial report, it does state $4,045 in infrastructure changes, as well as there have been pictures that were posted to social media of essentially a complete gut of the concession stand area. And I didn't know if my fellow council members were aware of that and if that was at the pleasure of the city for that to be done.
I'm sort of a Facebook person, so I know it got done. Because Miss Jenkins posted it on Facebook. How it got done, why it got done, and who done it is two different issues. But I'm gonna blame Mr. Pruitt. Because I remember in the discussion before we leased that, as Mr. Pruitt said, nobody could change anything out there, that the city would have to do the work. Remember that, Mr. Pruitt?
Well, all I'll say is right now in the lease that's signed, well, I don't have a signed version of the lease, so I don't know actually what's signed, but the last version I have, there's a provision that says that it doesn't grant BYSL any right to construct or improve any structure or fixture. I mean, that's in the lease itself right now. Any kind of improvement has to be approved by the council.
So that was where part of my concern came in, is that should council choose to either cancel the lease with BYSL at any point in the future, should BYSL choose to no longer lease the property, whatever improvements have been done now become liability of the city and ownership of the city. So that was a part of my concern as to what degree has work been done? Has it been inspected? Is there anything that needs to be inspected? Different things like that. I do know that there was a report that was given to us by a city employee that said that a couple of the cameras around the concession stand building are now damaged. And so I think that we need to look at those.
That's a whole, we're not even gonna bring BYSL in on that. I mean, I don't know who done it. Mr. Jenkins might have done it, but I doubt it very seriously. I don't understand why, and it's just like the lighting out there. We put in brand new lighting out there, and before you can play the second game, some lovely little children, his parents aren't watching them very closely, and they go out there and they shoot BB guns at the beautiful little lights, and then we have no more lights.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody wants us to replace lights they're not very cheap. And so I don't care if I ever replace a light. If we play during the daytime, or everybody wears spotlights on their head at nighttime, but I'm tired of replacing cameras and lights out there because they're just getting tore up. We've put fencing or whatever you want to call it around them, boxes. They tear down the boxes. you fix the restrooms, they go in the restrooms and take sledgehammers and tear up the toilets and knock the sink off of the wall. So, you know, what do you do next? You want to have something nice, unless we.
The different changes made out there, that was through Mr. Deacons and myself. I saw no need to really bring some things to city council. It's like some old shelves and stuff that was.
There was old shelves, old cabinets, old sink. We couldn't sell anything out of there. And as I told the board members, we won't sell anything. If I won't buy it out of there, I'm not gonna sell anything out of there. And so we cleaned it. And to the board members was out there when we cleaned it. That's on the council here.
Well,
So it's not like, you know, we hid anything.
No, sir.
But the thing about, I just wanna make sure that whatever we did out there, it was always gonna be above board. And I always kept the city mayor informed of what I was doing out there with the board and with the volunteers that we had.
So for public record, we too were not out there whenever it was cleaned and gutted. We were not out there.
Mr. Hill was there to keep all peace for us.
Okay, well, you said 2 members of the board who are now council members were out there. So for the record, then myself and my husband were not there.
Doug was there.
No, he wasn't.
He was helping me. He helped me.
No, he wasn't. He was with me.
Okay, well, we're not gonna argue the fact, but I know for a
the
fact.
Astros are playing, people.
Right.
And I'm going to also say that the EDC, the old EDC board approved some stuff getting fixed out there without, it's
not-
a city park.
The main interest of the city park is that kids, adults have somewhere they can have some little sport and time, and our job is to make it safe as possible.
Yeah.
Some things, yes, wasn't probably discussed, but it's just on myself and Mr. Jenkins, we just went ahead and just took care of it. I mean, there's no time or waiting.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not arguing that with you at all or with any of the council members here. This is an effort for just everything to be laid out as to what was acceptable, what is acceptable, what's not, so that there's not any question of it going forward. To your point, though, it's a city park. So my other point of concern is that there have been 2 different individuals on 2 different occasions who have approached me and said that the kids were playing catch on the fields and that they were approached by Mr. Jenkins and asked to leave the fields because it was BYSL property.
Yeah,
So
I did.
the financials, I can disagree with, that's fine. Whether or not the concession stand should have had to work on it, I can disagree with, that's fine, because that could have been agreement with you. What I don't agree with is that city park property, people are being told that they cannot use it whenever they want to because it's BYSL property, and that's not correct. There's a lease agreement in place that says that the
That's not what
fields
was
can be
said.
used for practices and games.
The
But
thing
if
about
a
it is
practice
that I
and
don't
game
know
is
who
not
you
going
are-
on,
You're referring to.
if a practice and game is not going on and there are children or families that would like to utilize the facilities, they should be allowed to utilize the facilities. And I have concern with people being approached, being asked to leave.
And what I didn't get to finish my sentence. It's a city park, and I think the old EDC board, because they were paying for some of the repairs out there, forgot that it's a city park. And there was a lot of miscommunication because when they said they took the roofs off of the dugouts because and member of the EDC told them to, that didn't work real well for me. But that was history, and there's nothing we can do about history, but I believe that we can do better moving forward. I'm sorry.
That's my intention.
No, as far as, first of all, I don't know, it was never brought our attention, who had a complaint, if we knew
what was the complaint about. We've been prepared to explain what the situation is. Since you just threw it out there, we can't defend ourselves on something we didn't know about beforehand. If we knew about it beforehand, we could have had whatever we need. You know, you can't say somebody did something without them knowing what happened in order for them to defend themselves. So I can't, my uncles, the board can't defend themselves because we don't know what the complaint is, who made the complaint, what particular day of this complaint was made. If we knew that, then we can say, you know what, this happened. The only time that I know, because I'm at that park every day after work when we was having practice and when we was having games. The only thing that I knew about, because normally during fall ball, all 3 fields are in use. We have practice on all 3 fields. One particular time, a team from Hempstead, because they couldn't play practice in Hempstead because the schools was closed, came down. We didn't say anything to them because we was only using 1 field because we had the T-ballers playing. So we over there playing. But eventually, before they left, my uncles went over there and said, look, we don't have a problem, but just to let you know, in future, can you get in contact with us? Because if these kids and parents came from Hempstead thinking that they gonna practice on the field, we have all 3 fields in use practicing. So we didn't say get off the field now. We didn't say this BYS field, BYSL field. We said in future, because we use all 3 fields for practice. Just give us a heads up. Because we don't want nobody to make a blank trip. But as far as telling people, oh, that's our field, you can't play on it, no. Now, I have personally told people that have, after we locked up the turf field, they will jump the gate. Look, come on now, y'all. Y'all know if the police come across, y'all trespassing. Come on over, go to the other 2 fields. That's what I have personally told people that came out that jumped the turf field. Now, if you're on the other 2 fields, it's nothing we can say about it. We don't even say nothing about it because we're not using the field. So, and the second complaint, or the third, I mean, because this was just brought up. So
it wasn't a team that brought it to my attention. Forgive me, I don't have the exact name of the person that I spoke to. It's not somebody that I'm a regular acquaintance with. However, even if I did have the name, I'm not going to give that name because I think that would be in poor taste. It was a parent that had 2 children that had went out there and were playing catch with each other. That was the first complaint that I received. The second one was a family that had gone out there. I think they were having a family picnic together. So it wasn't about a team that came in during practice time. They said that there was actually no teams present at all at the time.
Okay, well then, once again, they came to you, you never brought it to us to let us, like, jog our memory what happened. To say that right now, I don't remember that. I don't know that, and I'm up there. Once again, majority of the parents that have went through fall ball or even spring see me up there every day. Every day.
So to that effect, the complaints were discussed in executive session whenever we were deciding to put this on the agenda.
But
so
how
your
we gonna defend ourselves?
point of contact would be with our mayor.
Okay, well, the mayor never, as far as I know.
I never got a complaint. Me personally, I never have. Besides, I've heard.
I would say we've discussed it before
Yes.
in council, yes.
But I've never got a complaint, so I don't know.
This what I can say about BYSL. Since it has been founded, since we've been at the high school, from the high school to eventually the park, we cannot please everybody. We have never said we could please everybody. First of all, it's not pleasing the parent. It's making sure every child on that field has fun, learn, develop. And that's what we make sure happens. Now, parents, even with these 2 individuals, council, was on our board. They know for a fact that every season, at least 1, maybe 2 parents gonna get out of hand. 1 or 2 parents, guaranteed they will get out of hand. That's why this past season, we have a new policy. It's 0 tolerance. It's 0 tolerance. So if a parent get out of hand and the situation can't be diffused, then the police will be called and let them take over. Now, whatever words that might have been spoken during that time, once we bring in the police, that's it. Our hands are through with it. We are not gonna let parents come out there and make it hard on the other parents and make it hard on the kids. So this will always be about the kids, no matter what. So as long as they happy, and I know they are very happy because these kids whooped Waller and Eagle Lake behind. Every last one of them, from T-ballers to minors, whooped them hard. Now, mind you, the kids that we have from fall season, some of these kids was their first time. Couldn't throw a ball from me to Councilman Branch. Couldn't throw a ball. And when we have our girls beating Waller kids, Waller girls 12 to 4, our minor boys tying up 2 different games against Waller when these kids been playing yay high. It's not about the parents, it's about the kids.
We're on agenda item number 12, and we have to go to agenda item number 31, and the Astros is playing.
Some
Any more discussion?
some of us got to eat. We got to eat.
Yes, sir. You have something?
I would just motion the council to
Hold on. Would you state your name?
my name is Michael McNally.
Michael?
Yes,
Her
Michael.
name.
I'm sorry.
So I'd actually, ask the council motion to remain in contract. I personally feel that the organization of the games and the management of the whole thing has been very disorganized and inconsistent. As to the claims of Mr. Jenkins saying this is my property, this is my field, I actually personally witnessed him and heard him say that on October the 8th at least one time. And there was another incident on October the 26th where we came to the field and found that the turf field had been locked by them. And as far as my interpretation of the lease goes, that they only get to have the field during practice and games, and so I found it concerning myself that the field was locked from access from the rest of the public. And so I just think that since our tax dollars are paying for that, I would feel more comfortable if those fields were left open to the public, and I just don't feel that this organization is following those terms of the lease, and so I just ask the motion to terminate that lease.
That turf field is locked, and it's locked for a reason, and that cost $500,000. And there's a couple of spots that's in it that if you keep on going in that same spot, it's gonna rip the turf. And I believe, I hate to speak for Mayor Branch, but I do for the last 33 years, so I guess today won't matter. Asked for that to be locked and nobody else used that because now, unbeknownst to the new EDC board, we're gonna have to pay, how much?
I don't even want to say it.
Say it.
Just gonna say it.
It's gonna be a lot of money.
A lot of money to get it done correctly again, but then you have to maintain it for a whole lot more money every 3 months. So
For anyone
not
present who
to
doesn't
be-
know, the previous EDC spent $396,000 putting a turf field on a city park, and they hired a company that has 0 experience in installing turf. They did not vet the company.
Actually, it was more than that, but the Astros game is on, and we got 31.
Well, Council Mayor, I know the Astros are playing. One thing I would suggest you do is you work with BYSL to get a schedule set. I mean, because the way the lease is right
It's a
now.
requirement of the lease.
You're supposed to have, I mean, and somebody mentioned this, like during practice times is correct and games, but it implies that the lease implies that you're gonna have a schedule worked out. So that way there's not any confusion about who's supposed to be when and where on the deal. And so it'd be really good, especially if the season's coming up. We got January 1 coming up. If you work out when the city's gonna have access to that for any kind of anything, or when it's going to be open, and then so you know the schedule of BYSL and you, so you can know who's supposed to be where and what time. And that's simple to attach to the lease.
We do also try to when I hear about something the city have, make sure we don't schedule anything for that time period. So I do try
Correct.
to make sure, because most time I am doing the scheduling also.
But the
I
requirement
think we
of
need
the
some
lease.
sort of calendar. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the requirement of the lease is that we have a calendar on file.
Okay, no problem.
And those can be the only days that y'all can have access without it already being submitted to the city 90 days in advance. So we need to work on getting that in. That's my interpretation. If I'm wrong, please correct me. So we need to get that on file so that there is no confusion with
Right
this.
now, we are in talks with Waller and Eagle Lake, so
Okay.
once we get that schedule, it's no problem.
And then do we have a copy of insurance on file with the city?
I don't know. I don't even have the signed lease, so I don't know what's been
Can
on
you
file
be
or
sure
not.
to email another copy?
So I think that's
we
a
have it on-
part, you bring up another concern. Does anybody have a copy of the lease that is signed by both parties?
I believe Mr. Barnes procured one today.
I have an email copy that the city secretary or whoever was in charge sent me a copy of that lease. I have a copy.
It has both party signatures on it?
I believe so. I can double check and see which actually signed.
Yeah, it's not signed, but.
Just a moment here, I can pull it up.
I think for legalities, we need to make sure that we have a fully executed lease on file, along with all the other requirements under the lease, which Mr. Hill had mentioned about having the calendar of events. If something's not posted or published or some sort of way where we have at least cross awareness of what the schedule is, that may be a problem, especially if somebody contacts the city and wanting to use the facility and they're contacting 90 days in advance and we don't know about your schedule. But then about the copy of the insurance on file, was that your only question about that?
Yeah, we need
Okay.
a copy of it.
Mr. Miller, is there anything about, Chief Miller, sorry, is there any, I guess, what would constitute trespassing on city property? Yeah, so if somebody's out at Hovis Park and they're on any of the three fields, is there any point in time where that would be considered criminal trespassing in terms
It's a
of
public
your
park.
department?
Yeah, on a public
Well,
park.
it just so everybody's clear, you can, if the city had a curfew or something like that, or had hours of the park, and then it was closed at a certain time, then that's when you'd be trespassing if you jumped a fence or something if the park was closed. And like if park's locked for whatever rule or policy, somebody jumped that fence to get on the turf field, they'd be trespassing, and so they'd
Okay,
be.
just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And I do have a copy, a signed copy of that.
It's just
By both parties, though, by both the mayor
Two
and
signatures.
representation of BYSL.
By Mayor Brian and by Claudia, something I can't see.
So no. So it's not executed by both parties. Claudia Harrison was our previous secretary.
Okay, also by Daniel Jenkins.
Okay.
Then it is signed.
So we need a copy of that then for our records.
He got
And nobody
it
in
from
the city has
secretary.
it.
She said she got it from the secretary. It's in the system with.
Then how does Justin not have
He
it?
doesn't even have a copy of it.
I don't usually get things back.
Okay.
So that could be a
Mike
policy.
just gave it to him.
Right.
I have a copy, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. But,
Mayor.
I think he was standing first.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Also appreciate the opportunity for Brookshire Youth Sport League to use the facilities, first and foremost. When I was a little boy, here in Brookshire, at Logan Park, we had a little league baseball team that I played on. And my coach was Frank Udini and Gail Udini. They taught us so much about leadership, teamwork, and responsibility. I understand you may have some issues with what we do as a sports league, youth sports league. And I understand that there are people who are upset about our presence. But one thing, if you end this, you don't end it just for adults, but you end it for our children. Brookshire, Patterson, the raw community. Now, for is what we've done out there. We've done that in good faith in order to improve the facility. you said yourself, Officer Wade, that it should be the responsibility of the city to take care of those things. But when the city doesn't take care of them, then who? And we are out there to provide a service for our community. And we welcome the city to put money into the facility, to bring it up to standards. If there's a standard to be brought to, we welcome you to do that. But we have a season to try to get our children out there on the field to play. We can't wait 3 and 4 years, I'm sorry, until the political or whatever, the wheels to turn enough to make that facility the type of facility that we don't mind bringing people into. So, whatever you decide tonight to do about it, that's fine. We want to do for our children, and that's all we try to do. When you were on the board, and Mr. Hill was on the board, that was the purpose. And it's still the purpose of our organization. It's still there. Yeah, we got complaints. Everybody has them. Even this council has complaints. But we will work through those complaints to make the organization one in which you as council and the city, this community can be proud of. And that's our efforts here. Not to make you angry, because we gotta work with you. And we intend to work with you. But we don't need to be fighting about it.
Mr. Foster, may I?
I'm not through, ma'am.
Okay.
Excuse me. We don't wanna fight you. I was born in this community. And I'm very proud of Brookshire and what we do. And I just want everyone to work together. Okay?
May I?
All at once.
May I, Mr. Foster? I've been a longtime personal supporter of yours, and I don't know exactly what perception.
I'm not asking you for my support.
Sir, I didn't interrupt you, and I allowed you to finish your statement.
That's all.
If you would let me finish my statement, I think that there's a misconception about what it is that the agenda item was for. I think that there is clear, and I can appreciate your emotion. What I'm saying is that I've been a supporter of you, and I can appreciate your emotion that you seem to be very upset about what it is that you think that we're here to do tonight and what we're intending. My purpose of asking for this to be on the agenda item is because we're coming up on a year since the lease was signed, and coming up on a year to where we've reviewed the items of the lease and to where we've gotten any kind of update or feedback from Brookshire Youth Sports League. It hasn't been done since I've been on council, and it was in an effort to try to say, has everything been followed? Is there anything that we need to update? Can we look at some financials? Can we establish some norms? Because as we've seen, we have not been given calendars of events, and that if people are in fact being asked not to use the fields during outside of hours, and we need to establish those. I didn't come here tonight with any intention of canceling the lease of Brookshire Youth Sports League. So if that was a perception and that was the assumption, I'm sorry, but that's false.
And I agree with you. But when we have a citizen or a complaint to cancel the lease or the agreement with us, then that is a concern.
So that's his right to say so during public comments, but that was not my intention of asking for the agenda item to be placed before us tonight, and I want to make that clear.
Well, what he voiced is to have the council have a motion determine that.
Yes, that's what he voiced, but he's not a council member, with all due respect. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear because I'm hearing quite a bit of emotion that made it sound like we're here just to cancel it, and that was not the intention. I was here to clarify things. That was it.
State your name, please, ma'am.
My name is Liliana Gallegos. Liliana Gallegos. Okay. I am a third party. I have never met you a day in my life. Okay. So from what I'm seeing is I feel like Ms. Nordorf has a very, very emotional, personal connection to BYSL. And it seems almost as if it's nitpicking. little things and looking for reasons. Does that make sense? And you did say you didn't mean to bring forth the complaints, but you brought forth complaints.
No, I didn't say I didn't mean to bring them forth. I said I wasn't going to state the names.
But you still brought the complaints out without them having it there. Like you didn't warn them that you were going to bring that up beforehand. So that's what I'm saying. It seems almost unfair that she has such a close connection with BYSL, and it seems like she's nitpicking. I'm not mad. I just think we should keep the integrity when it comes to BYSL between the council and BYSL itself. That's it. That's all I want to voice.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I just, a couple of things I wanted to point out. Number one, I have 20 years' experience running nonprofit organizations. One of the absolute best practice no-nos in the world is to have a board of executives or board of directors that is made up of closely held family, because it causes doubt about things like financial reports when those things come up. I don't know there's been malfeasance there. I'm just saying that currently this organization is not operating under best practices for a nonprofit organization. That should be something that needs to be addressed by this council if you're going to continue to work with the organization and its structure. In addition, they have continued, I heard today, to make Brookshire proud or something of that nature. Having participated in quite a number of these events this year, I can tell you that we are not viewed as a pride at this point in time, with the lack of direction, the lack of leadership, the lack of coordination for these events. And if this organization is to continue, the city needs to make some very specific directions about how that's going to work in the future if you truly want to have an organization you can be proud of within this community.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Any more? Comments?
13.
There's no action necessary. It was just discussion possible action.
Let's move to agenda item number 13. Update on mutual negotiation for Brookshire
So we had a previous council meeting that was joint with the city of Pattison to discuss the ETJ outline and a map that they had presented, and it was in heavy question at that time as to where the boundaries of the map were originated from. Neither one of us had legal counsel present, if I remember correctly. I don't remember if they did as well or not. But the Pattison mayor seemed to allude to the fact that there was some sort of meeting that you took part in order to create that map, which we don't have records of. And so
just so everybody's aware, there's between the city of Pattison and the city of Brookshire, our city limits aren't touching, but we have this thing called extraterritorial jurisdiction that surrounds both cities, and that overlaps. And there's some question about what that looks like, if you look at a map, what that looks like for the ETJ boundary of Pattison and Brookshire. And it's over time, this has never been established. So your team at Gunda is actually doing the proper research and mapping to get two things established. One is to verify what our city limits are now, to include all the annexations we've done. From that, and because Brookshire's over 5,000, what we do is we measure 1 mile out from that boundary, and that's your ETJ boundary. And so they're preparing that map for you now. And both of those are required to be on your website anyway. So that's where we're at. And I think for the legal negotiation between them, until we get that map established, then there's really nothing to talk about. But
because I know at the meeting we were discussing the origination of both cities' maps, but they had produced a map that was voted on by their council.
So what happened there is there was, it's probably 2 or 3 years ago, I know it was during COVID, one particular issue and development issue that happened was the fuel max station was
correct.
I think built or they put a sign up, essentially is what
it was
triggered.
their lighting.
Okay.
Well, I think maybe the sign, maybe the first complaint, and then the lighting was the second, or vice versa.
And so inside a city's ETJ, you can enforce certain things. Sign ordinance is one of those. And so there was a question of whose ETJ,
Correct.
govern that sign. And so
Because their
of that,
ordinance
yeah.
state that they have to have monument signs.
Right, and
Yes.
ours was a little more loose, and so
Correct.
and the sign falls within our ETJ. So I did have a meeting after that. There was a bunch of questions about whose ETJ goes where. So I did meet at the time, again, it was like 2 years ago, with their engineer and two city attorneys. One was outgoing and one was incoming, their current city attorney. And there was a suggested line to be drawn between the two cities to, have some set boundary for the ETJ. But that was never, we didn't adopt that as the city, and it wasn't up for adoption there, even though they may have taken action to do that. That doesn't set our ETJ or anything.
So what kind of time frame are we looking at to get these maps?
It's gonna depend on, well, the city limits is the main thing, and it's gonna depend on, and from what I understand from, I think we talked to Guna the other, they're substantially done with it, I think 95% or more. When you talk about city limit boundaries, we gotta show all the ordinances that were in place to set those boundaries. And so making sure we're clear on that, going through the city's records to find that. And then it's really simple in GIS software to draw
Right.
a mile boundary. So it's coming quick.
Any way it goes, we trump everything because we
Well,
were
correct,
established before Patterson.
correct. But
So-
Pattison has decided to
Well,
Ignore that.
to ignore that and is in negotiations with
Developers.
and
Mhm.
there's certain assurances being made. So if y'all can put the gas pedal as far down as possible in this for us, we'd appreciate it.
I think haste is necessary given the current negotiations. So,
Yeah.
okay, that was the gist of what I was looking for. Thank you.
Mayor Branch, could I ask that Chief, the two heads of departments be excused? Poor Mr. Kelly back there gonna fall asleep, and now Chief Miller is leaning, so if y'all don't have any more.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No, y'all, I didn't say me, I said I was asking your permission.
Gentlemen, leave if y'all like to, if you want.
Come on, Mr. Kelly, you don't want to stay for the fun?
You got time to go look at Astro.
You didn't even think twice.
He said Astros. He told you what he was going to do.
Agenda item number 14. Update on setting a date for a meeting between the
Ain't
Brookshire
nobody
City
from the water
Council
district.
and Brookshire Municipal Water.
I know that Ray requested a previous meeting. A meeting was set. However, we were not provided with the agenda in time to meet the 72-hour requirement according to the Open Meetings Act. And so I think that we need to set another date and ensure that both parties receive that agenda in a timely fashion to post it and be in compliance.
Well, I hate to correct you, Ms. Neuendorf, it had nothing to do with the agenda being posted. It had to do with them refusing to meet if we couldn't meet in the convention center. And,
And the information I was provided was not correct.
well.
Well, that was one phase of the component. You are
Yes.
correct on your side, too.
And we asked that we be able to meet in here. We can take out all of these chairs and nobody gets to sit up here and act like the king and queen of Brookshire. But we would like to
You get a
be
yellow
able to
crown.
have it recorded.
Yep.
Right.
And that's the reason that we asked for it to be done in the courtroom.
Understood.
So, the president of the Brookshire Municipal Water Districts here, Ms. Green. One of the things I'm not happy with is the fact that we're paying lawyers to go back and forth. You do work for the city as well, so you know where the mayor's office is. Can we get your promise that you are going to set a date, some options, come back to the mayor, and let's get those set instead of paying lawyers to negotiate dates? And it's pretty simple. It's a workshop. There's not going to be any action items, so there's no need for us to be paying extra lawyers, and there's no need for these games to be played where we're having attorneys call attorneys, call attorneys, call attorneys. Let's get this date set. There's a lot of issues that are stalling us from development, and it needs to get done. So I would ask that you go to your board, stop the games, and let's get a date set.
Okay, so let me respond to this. We have a meeting on Monday, and I will take this information
Need to be seven.
That's
Seven.
a simple procedural, but
Yeah, but
I don't begrudge Mr. Pruitt for making a living or their attorney either, but it's very disingenuous to have an employee of the city who is the president of the water district who can't walk across the hall and say, Mayor, here's some dates, let's set this meeting.
Well, I thought that we agreed
we
at
agreed it was
7
7.
o'clock.
Well, I just want to make sure because, you know,
That's what I said too.
everybody up here,
That gives everybody a chance to get off of work, get home.
that's all I was saying.
If I need to
around.
quit my job.
Don't start. So, Ms. Green, you'll take care of that?
Yes, I will bring that information to the board.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Agenda item number 15, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 1410, a resolution for Waller County 150th anniversary declaring the city of Brookshire desire to host a celebration on April the 22nd of 2023. Mr. Hill.
Very simple. I mean, your explanation was great, Mayor. This is, again, just a resolution in support, and that we're going to participate in the Waller County's 150th anniversary celebration.
We
Make
got-
a motion to.
we didn't take a vote on this resolution. You know,
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 1410.
I will second that, or go ahead and give it to Ms. Branch. That's fine.
Uh-oh.
You second it?
I second it, but look at Mr. Kissman standing up there. Don't look up, Mayor.
I know he's got a good something he wants to say. Let me finish this, then I'll take your response. Ms. Newendorf
4.
and Mr. Hill,
4.
and
What if he's going to change our mind?
we'll have to revote. Okay.
Provided valuable discussion.
Mr. Kissman, you have something you want to say?
I'm sure my comments would have a profound impact on you. Both, as someone who was at the 100th anniversary and still hanging around for the 150th, I think y'all for passing that. I think we need to be proud of
Oh.
our history and our county's a unique place, no doubt. And,
Yes, it is.
Are you going to be president at the 200?
Be all of Waller County, but Brookshire definitely is.
Okay. Agenda item number 16. Discussion and possible action, setting a date for a workshop to review 2022 comprehensive plan, strategies and plans.
Mayor and council, we're probably not going to be able to accomplish this within the latter part of this year, but I'd like us to look at some workshop dates in January. I know part of y'all were on council when the comprehensive plan was passed back in 2020. Some of us were not. I think we all need to be brought up to speed. One thing that's on there that I think will be of value to us, it does address our streets and a plan that we can put in place of what streets to pave in what order. And I think there's ways that we can just target some of that without having to always come before council on certain things. We go ahead and start putting a plan in motion. So, Mayor, if you want to kind of package a couple dates in January and have staff send that out to City Council for us to meet at a later date.
We'll vote, right?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Just need to set a date.
Discussion and agenda item number 17. Discussion and possible action to appoint Judge Krennick, the head of the city's municipal court department. Ms. Branch?
Thank you, Mayor Branch. I really don't think that we even really need to discuss this, but Judge Krennick said the last time that he would be very honored, and it'd be a pleasure to be able to try and get our court department. We've done a few changes. Now we have online payments, we have this, that, and the other, and that he would really hated he didn't take the opportunity the first time it was offered to him. So with that being said, where everybody will know who to call in sick to in the court department, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Judge Ted Krennick, the head of the city's municipal court department.
Second.
Can you open for discussion, or you want to go ahead and take the vote?
Oh, she made a motion.
Would you be willing to defer to executive session to discuss this before we take a vote? Like when we go to executive session, not at this moment, but can we discuss an executive session first?
I rescind my motion and ask for us to stay here till 11:30 for executive session.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Branch.
Let's move on to agenda item number 18, discussion and possible action regarding the carport structure located at 3719
Hello,
Hi.
everyone. How are y'all? Good to see you again. I think we're waiting on an update or.
No,
Were you
there's no
able to
difference.
get the wind rating documentation to the city?
Yes, ma'am. I emailed everything over
Okay.
and had that.
Was it sent to us?
It had the dimensions and the extra. I think they called it.
Could you give me a copy of it, please, ma'am? Any other discussion you want to get in?
Well, Mayor Branch, I'm pretty sure we asked that your code enforcement go over there, do the parking spaces, and take the parking lot
Measurements.
dimensions and measurements and everything. It's a carport, people. It's not an awning. It is a carport. I don't even want to argue this issue anymore. Y'all gave him till the end of the year. I think he was totally out of line. It's only my opinion, by not coming and getting the permit first. So therefore, he has to pay double if that's the way that y'all are doing it. But I'm gonna tell you, what's gonna happen then is he goes and pays double, and Tim catches up on work, and there's not enough parking spaces for those businesses there. He is the last business in, so he gets booted out because of the amount of parking spaces that he has to have. So I feel that we sort of, give me that right word. Because I didn't say it, it sure don't bother me none.
I think it's a legal term.
I think that it'd be like screwing him out of his money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in all fairness, I know you think I don't like you. I really don't care. I just want people to do right by the city ordinances.
Right.
And so now,
I understand what Ms. Branch is saying.
now, you know, it just keeps on getting more attention, more attention, more attention, and it's not positive attention. And if we sit here and let you get by with bloody murder, then the next person comes along, well, y'all let him get by with bloody murder. I just want to pay double and go on, and y'all turn your head. It's my personality, and that's not your problem, but that ain't the way I operate. So now we're fixing to go in a whole total different direction, and you're probably going to get that word that I didn't think would have been very professionally to use, but it's a legal term. So what are we waiting on?
Y'all can finish your discussion.
Oh, yeah, the end.
Well, no, at the last meeting we had, we discussed your situation in general, and then I know that you said that you were going to forward over the just documentation of the wind rating anchors that you said you had put in place.
Yes.
But then also, I know Ms. Branch, you had asked, I believe you had requested an inventory of the other food trucks no, that was you, Mr. Hill, that had requested an inventory of the other food truck establishments that had similar type structures to make sure that they were the same type or if they were different.
There's a difference.
Well, so right next door to me, there's actually a guy that's selling carports, and they're all right on the road, not even a foot away. Across the street, the people that have a mechanic shop have carports or whatever it is, car wash place. They have two old carports that look like they're about to go down.
They're awnings.
No, they're the same thing, carports. They're metal carports.
Okay.
Exactly the same as what I have.
He talking about across the street.
So
from-
right
On
behind,
the corner there.
right
Yeah.
behind, yes, sir.
They
Right-
sell those buildings.
But
It-
across
it-
the street, he talking about the
The two white ones. Those are carports too.
I got you.
Then the two taco trucks, when you pull in off of, 359, those are carports.
Okay.
And it's like I said in the first hearing or whatever, had people passing out. I don't have any shade over there at all. It was my fault I didn't get the permit right out the gate. As soon as I found out I needed one, I came down and tried to take the steps to get it. It had already been put up. So.
And think about this.
Mhm.
You pointed it out last time, and I own it. The rest of the city council gave you to December the 31st. Well, what if they decide that they changed their mind, and me and Mr. Pruitt finally work on that food truck ordinance, and you don't get another extension to,
Speaking of which, when I went to pay for that, I was told to pay for a whole year, and it had only been a 6-month permit, so I'm already in half another year with you guys.
Well, I
Per
tell you-
per the ladies that work the clerk.
I tell you what, I'll ask Mr. Barnes. Mr. Barnes, would you be kind enough tomorrow to investigate why our permit department charged him for a year food permit when our city ordinance only states that there's temporary food truck permits? And if he's been paid for it, could you get with Mr. Rodney? I don't want to leave you out, Mr. Rodney. That it be put on the next city council agenda that if we owe Mr. Daddy Duncan 6 months worth of money back for a year permit because they only gave him till December the 31st, that we go ahead and okay that refund.
I'd be glad to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, if the plan is to get rid of me in December,
Oh, I didn't say they was gonna get rid of you.
yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
So, Mr. Pruitt, what does our ordinance actually say related to carport or awnings?
So,
I don't know why you put it off on Mr. Pruitt, because I contacted Gunda and have asked 3 times Gunda and Mr. Ridge, and nobody seems to can come up with anything except it'll be okay.
so carport reference in your code is related to manufactured homes or mobile homes or those types of things. And so that's why it would be associated with the food truck and a mobile unit. And applicable, that's the only way it would be applicable. And so,
I still have it.
regular structure, and when he came home, was they need a permit.
And it says and/or accessory structure.
Right,
What is a accessory structure?
So accessory structure, typically you have a primary structure, and an accessory structure is something that is used to support the primary structure. But the fact is, it's still considered a structure, and it needs a permit. And through the permit process, it would be evaluated if they could meet all the building code requirements, which Bureau Veritas would look at. So the point is that a permit needs to be put in and evaluated for structural integrity. So
And-
it is a structure.
Right.
What I was saying is the ban on them is related to mobile homes and manufactured homes. The only other way that they're, considered at all in the ordinance would be like what Lotta said, is that they're a structure going through the permit
And,
process.
and so now, it's been up there for 2 months, and we're going to give him another free ride till we have the next city council meeting. Because now we're still saying, well, sure, he can have one minute, and then the next minute, no, he can't have one, so we already supposedly have to refund him 6 months' worth of his money.
No, I think our struggle as council is that, if our code or our ordinance doesn't explicitly outline whether a restriction or requirements or anything like that, then I think, eventually we're going to come to a point where our hands are tied as long as he's meeting the certain setbacks that are required from the street. Now, to your point, Ms. Branch, because he's tacked on to a business that has several other businesses also operating out of the same building, now we're in violation of the parking space requirements. To your point, since you were the last business to go in, let's just say, okay,
Well, he's not the last one.
we come here and,
There's a new business now that,
oh, you're second
Yep.
to last, so maybe you won't get totally screwed. But I think to Ms. Branch's, to Ms. Branch's point though, in that, hypothetically speaking, we say, hey, look, our hands are tied with the carport. We may not like the aesthetics of it, but it is what it is and it's there now. We need to make sure that it's properly inspected for the structural integrity of it. That's one thing. But then if we come back and start evaluating the number of parking spaces that are made available, I think ultimately, especially if you're subletting the space from an established business that's there, it would be their responsibility to ensure that there are enough parking spaces that are there to meet the requirements of all businesses that they're continually inviting into their space. Now, what's to say, though, that they're going to support you and your business in establishing and making sure that those parking spaces are available? It's just...
And our parking ordinance says
3
off-road parking.
So the streets parking does not count.
Does not count.
So that's where I think that's to Ms. Branch's point, is that if we say, well, the carport's there, you should have come for a permit ahead of time. Please don't do that again, and then pay whatever fees are necessary, and we inspect it for structural integrity, and then we go about our way. But then the code enforcement officer comes back later and says, actually, there's not enough parking spaces here, and y'all are gonna have to figure out a way to make enough parking spaces for the businesses here. Where do they go? They're gonna go to the space that your business is occupying. And I would imagine, playing devil's advocate, that the building or the businesses that are inside of the building are gonna prioritize themselves. So that's where our concern is, that we could sit here and vote and allow you to keep the structure and take your money. But then at the end of the day, what happens with complying with the parking ordinance code is going to be ultimately left up with whoever's name is actually on the lease for the physical structure, which is Mr. Cruz Turner.
So I think originally that building was a movie theater, so I don't know how
Correct.
they fit everybody in to go see a movie.
Well, I think it was also a long, I think
Yeah,
it was
so-
before the city was even
And
incorporated.
so, okay, so on the right side of the building, they're building barbecue pits. And so there's nobody actually going there to park. They have pits outside and they have a big space
But that's
opened
not
up.
what our
That's
city
not what our
ordinance
ordinance
says.
I'm in the middle, but the businesses they are talking about on the inside of Blumenine are only consignment businesses. So a lady's like selling her pottery there.
No,
or a
we're not
lady's selling
talking about those.
artwork. There's no other businesses besides us three.
No, we were talking, there's, from, according to their water district application, there are actually 2 different insurance companies that are operating offices out of there, Bluma 90, and then there is a new, health, I don't remember, health something, that, Herbalife, something or other. And so that's 4 businesses, but then regardless, even if they're making smokers and operating out of the back, since it's a business where I mean, it's
It
not
has to
it's
have
not
a
our job. Yeah, it's not our job to evaluate
But
whether or
see,
not
anyway.
customers may or may not go into a business. It's that if you're going to establish a business, you have to have parking spaces available.
Well, so we're only out on the weekends, and people usually come pick up and go. They might stop and go inside Bloom and 90 to shop for something real quick, but
Let me help you out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
That's
and
what
this
I'm
not
trying to
being
say.
disrespectful, there's still an ordinance that says 200 to 300, every 200 to 300 square feet requires one and 1.5 parking spaces,
okay.
depending on the classification of the business. So you could be totally online, right? You're just shipping out of there, but there's still a requirement for general space, right? So it doesn't matter that people are just coming in and out. I guess my biggest issue with this is ultimately, why would it be his responsibility, not the guy who owns or leases the property? It's kind of like we're putting the cart in front of the wrong horse here, because ultimately,
But I think that's what Ms. Branch is trying to say.
Let me ask Gunda a question. Playing devil's.
I think that's what she's trying to say. It's not his responsibility. It's Mr.
Yeah.
Cruz Turner's, but Mr. Cruz Turner is going to, I mean,
But they ask, I'm not picking on you, by the way, and I'm not mad with you, and y'all don't know me, this is just me versus Bob, it's okay. So, y'all ask contractors that's adding on to my house for a note that says I gave them permission to add on to my house, right?
They have to sign the application.
Right.
The owner has to.
Okay, so if we're gonna play across the board and be nice, why didn't he have to get a note from Mr. Cruz Turner that said it would be okay for him to put that building on his property?
So in this case, I don't even know that there is a valid permit. I don't know that. We didn't approve a permit.
Yeah, so for the food, so the only permit that's out there right now is the food truck permit. And that did get approval from the property
Right.
owner to have that structure, that was the mobile food unit on it. There has been no permit for the structure. That's the whole point. So, and so for the structure.
When I came down to
that-
get the permit, they put it through, I paid the money, and then a week later, they said, hey, you gotta take it down. So there was no like,
No, sir.
it was never charged.
I've been on this since the day one.
Sure, you have been on since day
You-
one. But you know what? I paid $90
never-
to get the permit, and they didn't say anything till a week later, and they said you got to come to city council to keep the building up or
You
down.
never bought the permit before the right.
It was, but what is your?
Realize the distinction, sir.
Okay, so what's the law if somebody puts something up? What do you do after that? You fine them, or what do you do? How do you move on? I've already put it up. I didn't get the permit. I apologized. I came down
Well,
to get the
you
permit.
just said that you got one, but a week later we told you no.
No,
'cause
I
if
went the next
that
day.
was the case,
day after I had the building up, I went the next
Ooh,
day. When
y'all
your
make
city
my head hurt.
your city permit person came by, and he said the structure looks good. Run down there. I don't see anything wrong with it. Run down. It was Tim. Go grab you a permit. I went over here. I said, hey, I got to get a permit for a building that I had put up. I mean, a carport. It's not a building. It's not attached to the building. It's not attached to the food truck. Okay, just pay the $90 and we'll, get it stamped for you, whatever, a few days later. A week went by, then all of a sudden I'm getting notes on the food truck. You gotta come down to City Hall. You gotta come to City Council. Now we're gonna fine you every single day until you remove the carport. I mean, it was just,
Can you remember who told you that?
Who did the permit?
Yeah.
Who you said, who did you pay?
it
Actually,
was
who?
one of the ladies, either Maria or the other lady, I don't remember exactly. But I filled out all the paperwork. I thought I paid the money. I guess they never really debited it out of my account, So I was thinking, well, okay, I think I'm good now, But I mean, what is the law you have in place if somebody puts up a carport at their house and they're like, oh, I didn't know I need a permit, now what do I do?
You have to pay double.
Okay, well.
But I'm
let's pay-
trying-
What is paying, I understand, but I promise you, any food truck that comes into town is gonna wanna have a carport.
Sir,
What
You
she's
gotta
saying,
make
her
some
concern, what she's saying that her concern is that we can require you to pay double, and then after the fact, whenever now the parking space issues become a problem, and then now you're forced to take it down, then what was the point?
Yeah.
I think that's what Ms. Branch is trying to say. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That seems like
Yes.
you're just really trying to go at that business because there's some sort of commotion going on over there. I mean,
No, it's just a matter of, it's a matter, no. If I can, if I could
but
offer
it's
some
all
correction.
via insurance.
Sir,
If I
we
could offer
just
correction-
discussed a fence over there. Were you not sitting here when we discussed a fence? We're.
Oh, I know. I had to get a fence because I got a dumpster over there, so now I had to take it down. Within just 2 weeks of having a dumpster, oh, now you got to put a fence over it. Okay, so what else? What's the next
It's
thing?
a
y'all
city
want?
ordinance. If you'd read the city ordinance,
I'm
that
just
says-
feeling like y'all are picking on that location when that location is
This is
bringing.
what
That's your
happens.
feelings,
It's
though.
all the orders. It's not just that location. If we find something that somebody put up, we coming at them because they were supposed to come get a permit and everything. It's basically legal and in order. That's what we're trying to do.
So
A lot of people has been putting up stuff everywhere, ain't saying nothing, and then when we as city council go and ride around, well, who put that there? Then
Right.
we come back and we get Tim to go see what's going on. It's not picking on you. We're trying to get our city in order.
So
That's
y'all have
all
to
it is.
measure the property, right? And then figure out, okay, they have this many businesses, how many cars can we park on that grassy area? Nobody can park along
Come
the
on.
street.
Yeah, the street is
curb.
not
The street,
counted.
people can park along the street, but what
But
they're
it's
trying
not
to say
counted,
is
yeah.
that doesn't count for ordinance,
Okay.
to be in
I
compliance with
mean,
the
yeah, I think it's
ordinance.
really difficult. I get it, but, you know.
The other
It's
thing
all-
too
it's
is that
not
whenever
really-
we look
it's
at.
not picking, I promise.
When we look at the certificate
it's
of
strictly
occupancy,
law.
when we,
That's all.
when we look at the certificate of occupancy that was also issued for the business and you look at their water application, the additional sublease businesses that have been added to that were not disclosed at the beginning. So it's not your fault, and that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to say.
Because they have the pottery lady in there now, she's a business. And then Gary, he wants to run insurance out of there, so now it's another business.
Correct.
So every time it adds, you have to have more and more parking
Right,
for each one, even if
right.
it's via, I'm not even there.
Right.
Sir, let me.
So that's
Let me
kind of
give you
confusing in
another
a way,
example.
but I mean, you know.
Our city ordinance says that you can't have an accessory structure without a permanent structure there. A gentleman paid $800 for a garage during Harvey.
Okay.
For all of his stuff that got flooded in Houston, what little bit of his life was left to put in this $800 garage. The city ordinance says that you can have an accessory structure without a permanent structure. So guess what? That poor man in the middle of hell and high water, literally, had to sell that for about half price because he couldn't have that structure on there. It's just like smoking cigarettes in the Astrodome. There's
So
a
if I
no
would have,
smoking.
came to get a permit for the carport, who would have said yes or no for it?
You would have went through the checklist
Mm-hmm.
and you could have met either all the qualifications, or if you can't meet the qualifications, they would have said, Daddy Duncan, you don't meet the
who is they?
qualifications, please don't.
They
Who is
have a
they?
The
permit committee.
permit department.
Yeah.
Tim and them, right? The one that said it looked good and just run down and go grab a permit?
He's the
Tim's a
building
inspector.
Yeah.
But he's, okay.
I think it
So
looks
do y'all,
good. I think it looks good somewhere else besides right in the middle of there, but I don't.
the only reason I put it there is because the way I'm parked is where my electrical is, so,
I don't like
you know.
the pink house that's by my house, a bright pink house.
Yeah.
But I can't go tell my neighbor, hey, by the way, I'm just not, real happy that you painted your house pink, because there's not a city ordinance. If there was a city ordinance, then I could come to the city and say, send Tim over there and see if Tim tells them that it'll be okay. I don't care what
Well,
Tim
y'all
says.
said that as long as it wasn't 10 feet from the road, I mean, it's a good 20 feet from the road on both sides. So I'm not breaking any city ordinance, so I'll just,
May I? You broke the ordinance when you didn't get a permit.
yeah, we already discussed that.
Straightforward.
Appreciate
There's
your,
no other discussion.
appreciate it, we already discussed that in the last
And
meeting.
you keep rehashing matters that are not germane.
We've
sir.
already, we
And
already
you're
talked
digging
about
a
that in the
bigger
last
hole
meeting.
than you want to stand in.
I don't care, man, I'll go back to Katie, it doesn't matter to
matters
me.
not to anybody
I'll leave it and y'all can
sitting
tear
here,
it
I assure
down.
you.
I don't know why you're getting involved anyway, man, you're not even on the city council.
He's the city
He's trying
administrator.
to build a neighborhood right now, He's the
No,
same guy
he
that
is
said that
the
he would make the
city
same mistake when I
administrator.
was talking to the mayor, and then they should give me a break. And now he's trying to be all Mr. Big Shot over here, man. I'm trying to be cool with the
Hold on.
city,
Hold on.
but honestly,
Now
tell
we
me
can
what
go
y'all want to do.
ahead
Do you want me to take it down? Do you want to find me? What do y'all want me to do? Because this is the third. I've been here for 3 hours a night.
And you keep coming in.
How are you giving me a break when you keep bringing up that I didn't get a permit? I know I didn't get a permit before I put up a carport.
Okay,
You're acting like I built a house over there or something.
What would be your perfect scenario to the whole thing? Because the next time that you tell me you'll just pack up your little stuff and go back to Katie, I might say, well, goodbye, sir. I'm trying to
it looks
help
to me
you
like that's what y'all
and be
want.
fair with
Because
you.
if y'all say, okay, we'll double fine you for the carport, but now we're going to check out parking. So what's the point?
It
It just seems like then you don't, then, oh, okay, you're okay on parking, but,
we actually discussed parking the last time.
They don't care about the permit of the building. It's always about the parking issue, because when they go enforce the parking, somebody's gonna have to leave there. And you're the last one that's been there.
there's three little
That's the whole thing.
companies.
I've been saying the whole thing. I've been here 3 meetings in a row with you. And that's the whole thing. is
So
the
now he's talking stuff to Mike and wants to know why Mike's talking to him.
Well, Mike's not talking, Mike's yelling at me, and I really don't
We,
appreciate it.
we mentioned the parking concern.
I just want to
the
answer from
last
y'all came here to discuss it.
Meeting.
I don't even know what we're voting on right now, honestly.
I mean, that's the whole thing.
But do you understand that there's no businesses in there?
Oh, God.
You put the awning in the middle of the thing, and there's not enough parking for all the spaces. So some of the.
Honestly, there's plenty of parking.
And if I'm there, it's gonna be the last one that
Should
got
let
me.
Miller go home early.
Are you the owner of that
I'm
building?
not nothing.
Then
I'm
why are
just
you
a
even
city
saying
employee.
anything?
Because I just get tired of hearing you cry about your permit.
I'm not crying about it. I'm trying to resolve it.
Okay, gentlemen.
I have no idea who this guy is. I'm just trying to resolve this with y'all.
Okay.
Y'all got into the parking.
if
I
we
do
could
not own the
please-
building over there, so I'm just talking about my carport. What do y'all want?
If we could please hold on, because I feel like we go one direction, we answer a question, and then we divert and we go to another direction, and even when we answer that question, then we go back over here, and we're not gonna get anything
I don't feel
solved
like
there.
the audience should just be lashing out at me.
I'm
a small business owner. I'm very well known all over Texas for my barbecue. If there's 30 businesses inside that building, I don't know about them. All I know about is my business in the carport. And today we were supposed to discuss, do we keep it up? Do I pay an extra?
Would he have had to get a letter from Mr. Cruz Turner?
All right.
Would he have had to get a letter from Mr. Cruz Turner?
If we made a building permit, the owner would have to sign it so that they would know that somebody's doing this on their property.
I've never even met Mr. Cruz Turner.
His
So
name's
I've-
Gary. You just said Gary a minute
Oh,
ago.
Gary, okay, yeah. So Gary was okay with it.
Holy
I didn't know
cow.
who Cruz Turner was.
Yeah, this is
I thought there
actually-
was somebody that actually owned the building and the land.
They don't even own the building and the land. They're leasing the space. That was the entire point of what we made at the last council meeting,
Right.
is that they lease the building, and on their certificate of occupancy and their water district application, they stated that it was going to be Bloomin' 90 and an insurance office, period. Because the water district wanted to impose an excise and use fee on them for listing out multiple businesses that they wanted to put in there, and they edited their application. Miss Green, I think she stepped out.
She do.
Oh, she left?
Yeah.
Ms. Green confirmed that at our last meeting because she's the president of the water district. So the issue that we have, I appreciate the fact that you think that we have it out for that location, and I assure you we don't. The problem that we have there is that a business was presented to us in one form or fashion, and they have taken it upon themselves to sublease additional businesses. Some of them, yes, are consignment sale inside of Bloomin' 90. Those are not the ones that we're referring to.
Okay.
We're referring to the ones that are advertising their own product, inviting clients to come and do business at that location, acting in essence as a brick and mortar location.
Okay.
When you add those locations up in its entirety, we're looking at a conservative estimate, minimum of 5 different businesses, and some of which are taking up what was the existing parking space there. What brought us here today was the carport. The first issue, which we've already established, was that we did not receive a permit ahead of time.
Yes, ma'am.
However, what we are saying is that if we grant a variance and ask you to pay the double the permit fee for doing it after the fact, that's fine and well, except for the lease, the people who are actually on the lease and on the certificate of occupancy for that piece of property, the people that are assuming responsibility for the number of businesses that are in there and are stating that they will abide by city ordinance and have the correct number of parking spaces available, are not doing that. And who are they going to cut in order to make sure that they have parking spaces? I would venture to say it would be your business since it's in the parking lot.
I would disagree because I bring in business to them.
But, so they're gonna remove their own and let you operate outside of the building, but then at that point, then you're gonna have to go
They'd probably get rid
to
of
water
the
board
energy
and
drink
now
lady or
put
the pottery
into.
lady.
But the point is, okay, so if you're gonna move indoors, now we have to go to the water board and put in a grease
No, I'm
trap,
not
and
moving
that's completely
indoors.
different.
I'm just saying, they wouldn't get rid of the person that's actually bringing them business. They would get rid of the energy drink lady or somebody else.
What we're talking about. First of all, did you ever get a permit?
No, the only permit I have is for the food truck. That was what we discussed in the very first meeting about the carport. Then you were gonna go around and check all the other carports in town to see if I was breaking any rules.
Everybody else, I'm strictly talking.
No, I did not get a permit. No, sir.
Well, the first thing I would suggest you go get a permit.
Okay, I tried that. I turned in the paperwork. It never nobody got back to me about anything. I just got a letter.
Come back and check.
I did come back. I said I got a letter from the city hall saying that I got to take the carport down. I was going to get fined for it. So then I came and spoke to you directly.
Yeah, me, you, and
Yeah.
Mr. Barnes. had a
Right.
Conversation.
Which he even said, hey, you know, I could probably even make that same mistake myself. So anyways, I mean, yeah, I mean, because you know me, I'm trying to like do right over there. If I would have known, I would have done that first, given all the measurements. The carport guy didn't tell me about it, you know, so I didn't know.
Let me ask you one other question. What do you do in other cities? Do you go to them and state that you want to park your food truck?
In other cities, I mean, I could get a day permit or I can get a permit for the year. Depends if it's City of Houston, Harris County,
That's what I'm saying.
City of
So why
Katy.
didn't you come to us?
I got my food truck permit, I just didn't get one for the carport.
You got your food truck permit after the fact that you had been here, and all of a sudden, we had to notice that there was
Yeah.
a food truck there, the same way with it.
Okay. Let me say this. Mr. Pruitt, correct me if I'm wrong. First thing you should do, even at this point, you should get a permit.
Okay,
That was the first thing you should have done.
And he has to pay
Correct.
double.
And that's it. Okay? That's all we getting nowhere here.
And he has to pay double.
Well, we already discussed that with him about paying double, man. We had a nice meeting that day.
yeah, and I was like, I'm good with that, and
Okay, so then, now that it's been brought to the attention about the other businesses and the parking,
Oh, we working on him right now.
well,
Well, see, that's
he's
where it got-
part of it,
that's where it got really confusing because they brought
so
that
we're
up.
gonna
and then-
have to
We're gonna have to-
refund his money?
Yeah, we're gonna have to,
Oh, we're not refunding money.
I'm not telling you.
It's like only $180, but okay. I mean,
Anyway,
I'll give you $180 in barbecue.
So,
I
so
mean,
just
Jesus.
so just so you're aware, when you go to fill out the permit for the carport structure, you're gonna go through the list of all the requirements for that structure. It's probably likely that you're gonna have some issues with it, that the staff will say, we can't grant you the permit unless you get council approval. That's the thing that we're gonna need.
While
So-
we're here, this is the
but
second time.
You have not applied for a permit, and so there's
I've
nothing.
already applied for the permit. They have it sitting in
Okay,
their
but
files,
that you-
and I
you-
even gave them $90.
Okay, so just listen to what I'm saying, like.
Okay, so do it over again.
Go and get your permit, and then you're probably gonna get rejected for a few issues, maybe one, maybe four, I don't know. Whatever those issues are, that's where the council's gonna have to take action to say, yeah, we'll waive that requirement or do something with it. That's what they're gonna need to do, but it's contingent on you getting a permit. So that's a step you need to take.
Okay, so basically go try to get a permit, they
Go
disapprove
get a
it,
permit.
and then,
A building permit.
Right, for the for the structure.
it's not a building, it's a carport.
It's considered a structure, so it comes in under a building permit. Just want to clarify.
Oh, great, okay. So you're telling me all the taco trucks got building permits and we come down 359?
It doesn't matter.
Talking about the mechanic
you
shop,
need to
the
get a-
two carports, they had building structure permits? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt they do, though. That was what the whole thing was, y'all were gonna check and see what everybody else had. And I'm sure you'll have it on record, so y'all don't feel like y'all are just picking on me.
No, we're not.
And then all of a sudden, now it's turning into parking spaces. So I'm confused, it's like, what is the second
Our suggestion-
hearing for?
Our suggestion,
So try to fill out for another permit. Okay,
then we'll go from there.
all right, thanks.
We finna take some of these other items, I'm sorry, because this is ridiculous. We was on here for an hour. Was it an hour? Was that an hour conversation?
I don't know.
It was 45 minutes. Oh, go get him. That's why we need law enforcement.
Where's
Y'all
Chief
just-
Miller?
He left. She sent him home. This is loud. Oh, come on.
Mike
That's
Barnes.
Mike.
Can we call a police officer?
Mike's a big boy. He got it. Could we?
Okay.
Help me.
But we can throw people out of the lot.
Agenda item 19. The answer is yes
Ooh.
to this.
What happened?
Agenda item number 19, discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 1411, a resolution adopting the City of Brookshire 2022 through 2023 holiday schedule. Motion.
I make
I
a
move to-
motion that we adopt resolution 1411.
Second.
It'd be nice if I'd get all the information in my packet
We on
because
19.
I understand we're on 19. I wanted to make a couple of points about some holidays that we probably don't need to take off, but I didn't get that resolution or those dates in my
Well,
packet.
do you want me to you want me to?
It's only been moved and seconded. We can still have discussion.
Do you want me to read? Okay, so which ones?
Because I believe if the bank and the post office is open, that City Hall ought to be open. And I'm not sure why some of these are on here. I know this is going to cause a problem, and please forgive me, all the Hispanic people, but Cinco de Mayo is not a federal holiday. I'm not sure why we have off Columbus Day. But
I think Columbus Day is
Columbus
federal.
Day was recently added.
I apologize.
What'd you say?
But y'all feel free to go right ahead, and I'll just abstain from voting. But once again, I don't have all the information in my packet.
It's not stapled to the back of a resolution for you?
It's not on your list.
I'm good. I'm good. Please.
It's right here, baby. On the back.
I'm good. Please vote. Y'all, we done
You don't
made a
have
motion. Yeah.
You don't have this?
We just want to know if you have it. That's all.
No. Well, we,
Make note of that, Ms. B, or Miss Glover. Somebody. Okay. Ms. Branch.
So which one you on?
She would like to amend the motion by removing Cinco de Mayo since it's not considered a federal holiday. I have to say I do agree.
Okay.
I know that it is a holiday that's observed by a large portion of our community, but and to your point, having the city offices closed where we can't do business on
Anyone
that day, I
else?
think could be an inconvenience.
Anything? Anyone else? Here, but use this one. Here.
no, y'all don't understand. I'm good.
What do you mean you don't understand? 'Cause,
could we move forward?
Well, you made the motion about removing that one.
Ms. Neuendorf just amended the motion of Cinco de Mayo.
Okay. We're gonna remove Cinco de Mayo. Ma'am, that's a motion for me.
Sure. Second.
Four. For the entire calendar, correct?
Me too.
Minus Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Four.
my vote.
Hmm?
Yes, that was my intention.
Just making sure.
I seconded and I made a motion, so I don't know.
And I know there was too many holidays.
Ms. Taylor made the motion. I seconded it, but then I requested the amendment to remove Cinco de Mayo, which was seconded by Ms. Taylor. So if we want to do Parley Pro, we could vote on the amendment and then go back to the main motion.
We're good.
Ms. Branch, your vote.
For.
Motion carries. Cinco de Mayo
I don't care anymore.
is removed from the holiday schedule. Agenda item number 20. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 1412, the resolution approving the conditions of the final plat of the EMX restoration subdivision of approximately 0.3623 acres generally located southeast of the intersection of I-10 and Solomon Lane.
So Mayor and Council, you got the resolution. Staff's looked at it, recommends approval, subject to 3 conditions listed in the memo.
You ready? Make the motion, we approve resolution 1412 with conditions as outlined.
Second.
Four.
For.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 21, discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 1413, a resolution approving, subject to the conditions, the preliminary plat for the Brookshire 80 drainage district off the subdivision of approximately 4.07 acres.
I think we should table this and make sure those people are here to talk.
Oh, now she's playing.
Okay,
Aren't the Astros playing, Ms. Branch?
Yeah.
Forgot all about that.
It is still 2-1.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 1413 with conditions as outlined.
Second.
It seems like when you stand up, they just approve it, huh? Now,
That's right.
I know, right?
I'm not gonna,
We're happy the Astros are
I'm just
playing.
being missed. Oh, a 4.
That's right.
For.
She could have said against just to be fun. Still would have passed.
He was gonna
Should have
bring
at least abstained.
Don't give her any ideas.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to teach her some chapter conducting. I get excited. It's LDE season, okay?
Okay, number 22.
My team's going to area.
Discussion and possible action regarding solid
don't leave us
waste
yet.
collection service.
We
All
got
right.
a couple of more guys. Thank y'all.
Rub it in, guys.
It's gonna be over when we
Merry
get out.
Christmas.
Not if we can hurry. It's bottom of the 7th. Come on.
you
we
wanna
can catch
order
the last couple
pepperoni
days.
pizza for delivery, it'll be appreciated.
Yeah.
I know y'all send us some pizza back.
It's bottom of the 7th. We could get through. Hold on. Come on.
Did y'all hear?
Was he part of it?
Yeah, we
I
heard.
don't know who he is. He never said anything, I don't know who he was. Discussion and possible action regarding solid waste election services.
So just real quick, I don't know what council's expecting from this, but we have, just so you're aware, your existing contract with Republic is set to expire on September 30th of next year. And you have, it'll automatically renew for you have two automatic one-year extensions of that time, unless we give them notice 90 days ahead that we're not gonna extend.
And exactly how did you find that contract, Mr. Pruitt?
Well-
Because I asked for that contract in probably 2020, and nobody could ever find it, and it automatically renewed, and we didn't even go out for bids because we couldn't find the contract.
Again, I have an unsigned version, but we did address it. The council addressed it back in, it must have been 2020, around that time, to renew it, and the council took action to renew it, and that's the contract you're under now. So all I'm saying right now is that you have September 30th, 2023, your contract with Republic will either terminate if you take action, expire, or it's going to continue for 2 one-year terms.
I would beg council for us to go out for.
I agree with that.
We all agree.
But didn't we just get a proposal for the next service cycle?
I understand it. May I, Mayor? I wouldn't want to offend anybody present by weighing in on topic, but I believe that we
Cheeky.
got a proposal from Republic, which is in my possession, and I asked Rodney to file it. And we have it. Basically, it's an increase of roughly 4.15%.
Jesus.
We don't want that.
No.
Sorry, because they
But-
doing horrible.
They do a terrible job at
They
the
doing a
100% that they're doing right now.
Yeah,
Please don't shoot the
horrible.
messenger. I just
No, we
kinda
just letting you know it's
No.
horrible. Some days we get trash picked up, some days we don't. Then you call and they come and say they gonna pick it up. They never come, oh, my driver, something happened, so no.
You should try ordering a roll-off dumpster from them.
Mr. Barnes, I
That
am
is
known,
that is a nightmare.
I am known as the Republic trash lady for the city of Brookshire.
14 years.
From Facebook to Facebook Messenger to text message to phone calls. You can ask my husband on Tuesdays and Thursdays
bet.
is my busiest day because trash pickup is supposed to be Monday.
Oh, it's supposed to be, yep.
And
Supposed to.
Wednesday is supposed to be heavy trash pickup, and you
You don't get
so-
that picked up.
And please understand that I simply relayed. We are in possession of their most recent proposal.
well,
There was not a corresponding recommendation.
we need to negotiate that.
That to be clearly shown in the record. We do have,
Crystal clear, Mr. Barnes.
what's that?
Crystal clear.
Thank you. If, I don't think it's in the packet, because and I'll take responsibility. Is it in the packet? If not, I'll take responsibility for that.
I have one too.
But we can, if you opt to do no action or to go out, we'll have those in your packet for the next council meeting, so you can A, B, and evaluate whatever's out there.
Question, I know because Ms. Branch, I'm aware that you are the Republic trash lady for the city, whether you wanted to be or not, apparently. But I know that there have been several instances where we have tried to look at other companies. Are we under any sort of contractual obligation? I mean, yes, we're in contractual obligation, but is there a financial consequence to breaking that contract? Should we go out for bids for different companies?
So the answer is you don't have, there's nothing stops you from getting presentations or bids or for proposals from other companies. You can do that anytime. I will say that back in April, we sent a letter of a breach of the contract.
Correct.
To
I remember
Wayne.
that.
And so, and that was stated, they didn't correct it by May 20th, then we would send notice to terminate. And
And did we follow up?
yeah, I don't know the
We
specific.
changed council.
Council, yes, ma'am, I know.
And then
But it's been the
Yeah.
same old stuff, so.
You ask, let's not go back in history.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's just
Yes,
leave
ma'am.
this alone.
So can we move forward with sending another notice?
Yes.
And then go out for bids?
Right. It just, and the only thing I would caution, I mean, and two things, that when our resident, trash representative gets any kind of message at all about anything that's
Document
not
it.
getting done, just save the email, save the paper, whatever you
Yes.
get, so we can have the stack ready to go. And staff too. And I will say, I just went through this with Republic in a different city, and I'm not kidding. For 2 months, they had a stack this tall of issues.
Complaints,
And so
yeah.
they went through, their contract was a little different than yours, but to terminate them. And that went through, and they have another company that's come in that's followed up and has experience cleaning up, pun intended, trash, the Republic deal. And, but we just need to make sure on our end that when we go to terminate, based on what happened in that city, once Republic knew they were done, they were done, and they just stopped doing it. And so they left.
So we need to have a
and
plan in place.
You need to have it ready
Okay.
to go for another company
Right.
to come in and pick up
Okay.
the stuff.
I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but Katie released Republic and got another trash company, and I think that they wish that they had Republic back. So let's
Well, you just need to tell
keep
us not.
that
That's
in-
pretty bad then.
Let's keep that in mind.
It wasn't best, was it?
No.
Okay.
So the steps for this, would it be more appropriate to go out for
Presentations.
presentation bids first before we start sending a notice, so that if the 30 days
Yeah.
This-
expires and they
It's
just,
not till September
Well, no,
2023.
No, but we can,
If you want to go ahead and preemptively.
we can terminate it now. If we want to go ahead and get presentation bids and we find a company that we want to go with, we can send them notice and then provide documentation of how they breached their contract and terminate contract. We're not locked in, is what he's saying.
So it might be good just procedurally, just to plan for it all, that we get the presentation first, and you get
Right.
a good deal done with somebody and get that planned, and then we can work with both Republic and the new company to make that transition happen.
Mhm.
Which, again, the assumption's gonna be that Republic's gonna be done, and this new company's gonna have to come in and
Yep.
do a lot of work.
Well, I had a company that was willing to do twice a week regular trash pickup and once a week heavy trash. And that would be something that, and cheaper. than
Twice a week would
Bring
be-
it back then. Bring it back. You got this information?
I hope so.
Okay. Just bring
Twice
it
a
back.
week, I think, would be very helpful.
Point. It seems to me, and I may ask Rod and I'm gonna impose on you, but Mayor, wasn't there a reference in that proposal to extend to December?
Oh, well, now, come
I
on.
read it quickly and then filed it. I mean, I'd be glad if to ask Rodney, and I'll look at it here and report back to you later in the meeting, not to tie you up, but or ask Justin to, but it seems to me there was some reference to December. And I don't know, I remember the 4.15, I was very proud of that as opposed to, I love this, Olson and Olson recommending it, that they go 14.15.
That was a special deal for us.
Yeah, it was a special deal for us.
Why? Because they had been infinite?
for today only.
Somehow it was a December date in my mind. Now, I'm wrong as much as I'm right. I've been pointing that out numerous times this evening. But, let me take a look at that.
I'm gonna tell you, the Republic's been the trash company since I've been on council for 14 years. And then they sold the council on the idea of these trash buggies, they called them,
Mhm.
where the whole town would look
Uniform.
uniformed. Well, now our town doesn't look uniformed anymore because we started off brown, and they don't make brown trash
Right.
cans because some idiot that discovered that you can't see the brown trash cans at nighttime.
Well, who would have thought that?
Brookshire got stuck with the brown trash cans, the leftover ones, you know.
Or how many people hit a trash can?
So now, if we're going to stay with Republic, we need to make sure that we get
All
uniformed back out with, I don't care if they're green, but it's hard to get replacement trash cans. Those people know when they tear the lid off of the.
I haven't had a lid in 5 years. It fell off.
You undoubtedly haven't called the Republic trash person
Oh, no, I have.
for the city of.
Oh, the Republic trash person for the city of Brookshire? No, because that's not your job. But I've called Republic.
That's why you ain't got one.
Has council considered negotiating a contract with Republic in which there would be financial penalties for Republic for failure to perform these services?
The last negotiation was under previous council. I'll just say that.
Previous council didn't even want to go out for bid.
This is true.
So,
They allowed the contract to lapse.
For the reason of COVID?
Oh, yeah,
no, it was because
This branch has been on that since 2018 that I'm aware of.
her trash, she doesn't have a problem with her trash getting picked.
It get picked up.
Okay, what are we doing here?
Oh, going on.
And just for clarity, it's not technically not bids, because this is a service that is exempt from that. So you'll just receive proposals, so you can contact people that you know, and entities that you know, schedule presentations, whatever.
Do we need a motion to accept presentations?
I don't think so. We'll just put it on upcoming agendas.
Sounds good.
Okay.
23.
Item number 3, discussion possible action regarding resolution 1414, a resolution approving a professional service provider related to the CDBG MIT MOD program.
Yep. So, Mayor and Council, if I can, just to simplify this for y'all. This is a 1.3 direct allocation grant that's mitigation. Me and Mr. Barnes, by force of nature, a few weeks to a month ago, kind of got this thrown in our laps to make sure we didn't miss the deadline, so to speak, to get these funds. We've sent the notices out. We've got proposals back. And we've then reviewed as the quasi-committee, so to speak, and we have recommendations on this. And so if you are willing to entertain this motion, my motion would be we adopt Resolution 1414 awarding the professional services provider to GrantWorks.
Second.
I apologize. No, excuse me. The professional service provider to Bilal Engineering. I apologize. I just
Second.
corrected it.
You're not engineers. Let's switch them up.
Right, yeah, hey.
You just made me choke over here.
I apologize for that. Bilal Engineering.
Wow. Oh, 4.
Bilal Engineering, B-Y-E-L-Y, I believe is the loose spelling.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have to retract my second. I'll have to abstain from this vote.
Wow.
I'd rather not say. I'll let you know in
Second.
executive.
Ms. Finch, you went ahead and take the second, Ms. Taylor, and then Ms. Lindahl. Okay, motion carries. Agenda item number 24, discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 1415, a resolution approving a administrative service provider related to the CDBG MIT MOD program.
Mayor and Council, once again, following the vein of this similar conversation we had just a second ago, I'd move that we'd approve Resolution 1415, awarding the administrative services provider to GrantWorks this time.
Second. GrantWorks.
GrantWorks.
I think Ms. B.
Miss Glover, that's all on you, ain't it?
Oh, she just volunteered.
No.
No, I know, because I talked to Miss Glover about Grant Works the other day. Don't be sitting back there acting all shy and like you not here, Miss Glover.
Okay, let me finish. Ms. Taylor, you vote,
4.
and Ms. Branch.
For
you.
Looking forward to continuing our work with you. You should know that based on a lot of the stuff I'm hearing, one of the things you can use your 1.3 million for is drainage issues.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Yes.
Anyway, have a good night, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Okay, agenda item number 25. Discussion and possible action regarding the approval of city council minutes from September the 15th, September the 20th, September the 29th, October the 3rd, October the 13th, and October the 20th.
Mayor, who has blisters on their fingers?
I'd like to say this.
I'm quite impressed. We hadn't seen this many city council meetings.
I'm going to press you even further. Some of these were ready the next day before the end of business day.
That's right.
After we voted on it by city
That's the
council.
We
mayor.
appreciate y'all, just
So-
know.
Who
Thank y'all.
has,
We appreciate
blisters
it,
on their
just know.
fingers?
Yeah. Whoever it was
Y'all.
has some sore ears and some blistered fingers from having to re-listen to all that.
What I'm hearing is they need a very nice hand lotion.
When I
as a
come pick
gift.
them up, hold on, Miss Taylor, we just got a couple of more items to put in there. We just can't wait 5 minutes. I'll wait 5 minutes.
So I make a motion, we approve the minutes from September 15th, September 28th, September 29th, October 3rd, October 13th, and October 20th.
Second.
Oh, no matter.
You can take Miss Taylor's.
I wasn't real impressed.
Ooh. 4.
Or
Miss Taylor, you can
I
have the next
was
one.
thinking about how many compliments that I got on the morale of City
Absolutely.
Hall, the professionalism,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of other things that it's been just a joy to be able to go. Really? At our City Hall? You know, it's been
The
quite
Astros playing.
nice.
They remember? The Astros playing.
Game
3
over.
to 1.
man.
Again, like to request that,
3 to 1, top of the.
I've been here for many, many of these meetings, and I would have loved to have a chance to review these in case I had questions or concerns. That these be provided online, as has been, I believe now, 3 times approved by this council, that those would appear online.
Listen, you just worry about the historical thing and praying before the meetings, and we'll get that up there soon.
The staff has been doing a wonderful
Yes, they
job.
have.
We are
And I-
working
And we
towards
do
that.
appreciate it.
I also told them.
He gonna buy y'all lunch one day.
I am.
Just let me know the date so I can try to swing by too.
It'd probably be Lunchables, but
Oh no! You got to bring us some meat and bread. And I know Lunchables, crackers, and
She brings y'all
cheese and
Lunchables,
stuff.
y'all let me know. I'm gonna have a word with my neighbor.
agenda item number 26, discussion and possible action regarding invoice payments and reports. You're here.
I was with the what's name left. So.
Discussion? Now,
I'll make the motion, we approve the invoices.
Second.
I know. Trust me, we went through it.
I've got some questions, but I'll address them department head level.
But for the most part,
Ms. Nundoff.
4.
I abstain.
You say
You
what?
what?
I abstain. Y'all should have that road and gold by now.
I know. I was like, why are you asking her? She always says.
it to the tidy.
Motion carries. Future agenda items. Let me see it.
Put on there no more than, that's the first thing you put on there.
This next agenda will not be this month.
It should
Okay,
never.
future agenda items, number 27. Ms. Newendorf, I'll start with you.
Discussion and possible action regarding ordinance change suggestions from Gunda Corporation, with the red line recommendations being supplied to council at least 1 week prior to our next meeting.
You know I can do that.
I can text it to you.
She texts as fast as she talks, and that's pretty
I know,
fast.
that's
I was
what I'm
trying to
saying.
slow myself down on that one too.
That's what I was saying. Ms. Newendorf, do you have another one?
Yes, sir. Discussion and possible action to direct Brookshire Attorney to create a floodplain administrative interlocal agreement between Gunda, BKDD, and the city of Brookshire.
And the attorney is Mr. Gibson.
Oh, why would you include Gunda,
Yeah,
Ms.
should be just-
Because that was the discussion earlier.
No, it was not.
Okay.
Yeah, just BKDD and.
Okay,
City of
BKDD
Brookshire.
and the city of Brookshire then.
Yes.
Got that, Mr. Gibson?
It was a part of the discussion earlier.
Anyway, Ms. Newendorf, do you have?
That's it.
Mr. Hill, could you just pinch Ms. Newendorf for me, please?
Mr. Hill.
None at this time, Mayor.
What?
Oh my God, thank you,
Well,
Jesus.
I can go to the,
No,
I
we
can go
need
to the
more.
repository if you want me to bring them out.
Put,
I just wanna
Tanya,
make sure you knew what you said.
Amanda.
He just said, hey, can we have a shorter agenda? I'm doing
Amanda.
you a favor, and I see how I get treated.
No.
Now I'm gonna have to bring you a lunch.
Just for that, you're buying them Daddy Duncan's barbecue for lunch. That's what we're doing.
That's okay, Chris gonna take care of him. I got money on Chris.
you're from Miss Woods first. She wants us to change.
You missed it, honey.
Is that right, Ms. Newendorf?
No,
It's
she did not.
okay.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Okay, we were just,
What did I not say?
The
yeah.
commercial setbacks.
Oh, I didn't say anything about commercial setbacks.
Haley, your turn.
Discussion and no, I can't even talk. Discussion and possible action regarding changing setbacks to residential areas
Residential to commercial areas.
to, instead of commercial areas, I say.
Regarding changing setbacks for commercial areas within residential or adjacent to residential areas from
Abutment.
25 feet to 30 feet.
Yeah, we need to change that.
Okay. Ms. Taylor?
That's it.
What?
It's still gonna be 20 on there. Somebody go call.
We're not gonna- Okay, Ms. Branch.
Discussion and possible action reviewing the city's
Y'all did vote for
take-home vehicle policy and implementing, sticking to the policy no matter what.
Take home.
However you say that politically
Enforcement
correct.
of the policy.
Take home vehicle, right?
Yep. Do you know what I'm talking about, Justin?
Got it.
Ms. Branch.
I'm good.
That's it?
Now that I missed. Oh.
Y'all sitting there talking about me.
We still listen. We still got to listen.
I'm not sure that this needs to be put on the agenda, but Mr. Kelly spoke with me about he would like to get a city phone instead of us doing him reimbursement. Since it's less than $100, I think the mayor can take care of it, but I wasn't sure how your motion went, Mr. Hill, that night.
His motion, I think, just stated that if we're gonna reimburse a phone, it would not be for more than what we're paying for city lines.
On average per line.
And if it's purchasing the phone, that should be within the purchasing policy that either department head or, well, he's department head, so the mayor, city manager, city administrator.
Okay, so that means,
Means the mayor can just,
Make the decision.
well, we have to buy the phone.
You heard that?
Yes.
Just go ahead and order it, and I'll talk to him. I'll get with you.
I was gonna say, if we
You
have
just add a
line that's
line.
not being used.
Take one of the 47 and use them.
And don't, no, he doesn't get an iPhone number 14 is the
Max Pro
question
plus
that I'm
plus.
trying to ask.
There's probably
City
free.
does not pay for mine, and
There's
I
free
have an
phones he can
iPhone
get.
5.
I need you to upgrade.
well, there you go. All right.
Ma'am,
We can take a look at it, yeah.
upgrade.
No, ma'am,
Okay.
I'm good.
Bottom of the eighth.
I told y'all we gonna miss it. I told y'all.
Agenda item.
It's 3-1.
Council reports and community announcement. We'll start with you, Mr. Monroe.
None at this time.
Mr. Hill.
Donegan Museum's getting a new coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
It's looking good so far.
Yeah.
Should be complete in about another week and a half.
We getting ahead.
Yep. They still
That
gotta
was
do a
primer.
couple coats. That's primer.
That was primer.
They still got a ways to go.
And with the humidity
Oh,
right,
that's white primer?
it's white primer, yeah.
I didn't know it was white primer.
Yeah.
With
thought
the
it was
humidity
all-
right now, it's probably gonna take 3 days worth of dry time in between each coat.
No, I didn't know it was.
Yeah, it's primer.
A lot of exterior primer is usually white or gray.
You can get it.
Good old kills.
That's all for me, Mayor.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Taylor?
The Royal Falcons are in the playoffs, guys, so just support them. They playing, the Falcons are in the playoffs.
Football.
Yeah, football, I'm sorry. They
Are they still
playing-
undefeated?
No, we lost 2.
Oh, that's not bad
So
though.
we're second in district, which
That's
is
awesome.
okay.
Yeah.
But they play, I think they play in, West Columbia. There you go. Tomorrow.
Is it here or there?
It's there, yeah. That's it.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, Mayor, the Houston Astros was in the World Series. And the rainout game got pushed to Thursday night, which landed on a council meeting night, and I'm quite upset that I missed most of it, and I think we should be
Probably should have closed their
compensated.
roof.
Just say it one more
We
time.
should be compensated in some kind of way.
I'm with you.
No, sir.
I wasn't able to use my tickets to the game tonight.
Okay.
Girl,
agenda
next time just throw
item
them to me.
I'm just kidding. I didn't have them.
Agenda item number 29, executive session.
Oh, we ain't going in
We
no
not going
executive
in.
session today. Justin, Mr. Pruitt looks
We have to go.
tired.
Ms. Branch, you had an item that you wanted to discuss, or Councilman Hill wanted to discuss the Judge Krennic item in executive.
Okay, come on. We gon' 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And they say some shit.
It'll only
5
take me a minute.
5 minutes.
Get out, everybody, get out.